Panogita moru purita nonda kantai mantunat nyagitoru ilugar para honra para gloria abiba islasen para honra para gloria abiba islasen para todo y tempo y paz para ita dan gini langit na bendition contra peligro na fansa fuham dus protegis langom contra peligro na fansa fuham dus protegis langom.
Calling all graduating seniors. Join us by showing your class pride in the celebration caravan you deserve through the island's major thoroughfares. KUAM and its partners want to recognize your accomplishments and help celebrate this pivotal moment in your lives. To participate, email promotions@kuam.com and let's get this show on the road. Special thanks to ABC Stores Guam and The Dungeon.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Guam. And welcome to the KWAM News takeover of Guam's favorite, a little bit of micronation. We're doing the country. It's a country song, right, Bree?
Yes, it is. I love this song.
I know. It's your jam.
It's my jam.
Bree has like 3 favorite songs. And you know what they are because you always hear them every day. 624, it is containing COVID. Good morning. Proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam, and another one. Yep. Real information, real time as always. A great big show for you guys. We're going to go behind bars. And don't worry, you can get out again. With Major Anton Hogan and the Department of Corrections coming up. We'll talk to Dr. Hoa. Catch up with the Guam Police Department. Boy, they've been busy busting knuckleheads. So we'll talk with Sergeant Paul Tapao and also catch up with the Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez. Just a few of the shining stars you'll see here in the morning. I just added that.
Yeah, okay.
Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, so we're going to just start by shouting out our CNMI correspondent, Tomas Manglotnia. You guys can see this here. These are the coveted blueberry cream cheese rolls. Again in Saipan, the blueberry capital of the Marianas. I don't know what the connection is. They don't grow blueberries in Saipan. They just have a lot of blueberry stuff there. So if you've ever been, there's about 3 things you bring back from Saipan. There's a piggy ice keki and a blueberry cream cheese roll. So thank you so much to Tomas Maglonia. I know his relatives are probably watching. They're like, hey, boy, where's mine? Where is theirs? We'll ask him coming up here. But first things first, we'll start the day with a dive into the COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM news team. Again, good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Day, good morning, everyone. The number of COVID-19 cases on Guam has gone up. According to the Joint Information Center, out of 29 samples ran through Public Health's lab yesterday, 2 turned up positive, this bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases on Guam to 177, with 5 deaths and 148 recoveries and 24 active cases. Again, these are the results only for Public Health's lab. A full picture of how many tests were conducted total on Guam at various local labs will be released this afternoon in Public Health's situation report, which is posted on their website. Expanded community testing throughout the island starts today at the Gigo Gym. Drive-through testing is from 9 a.m. to 12 noon today. It is free and open to Gigo residents, and you do not have to have symptoms to get tested. Just bring an ID. Tomorrow, Thursday, June 4th, walk-through testing will be held at the Gora Public Housing in Dededo from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Again, this is free. You do not have to have any symptoms to be tested. Public Health, in the meantime, has launched a symptoms monitoring service for COVID-19. The smartphone app will help monitor individuals identified as close contacts to confirmed COVID cases and returning residents in 14-day home quarantine. COVID-19 exposed contacts will be able to log into the IMOCA app daily to report symptoms to Public Health, take their own temperatures, and record a short video. The app will also ensure the public health team's review of each submission and ability to answer questions or concerns through a 2-way HIPAA secure chat. As part of the 14-day quarantine requirement, individuals must adhere to symptom monitoring put forth by Public Health. The identified individuals on Guam to be enrolled using the smartphone app will be contacted directly by the agency. Important news for Guam's fishermen as the Department of Agriculture announces there is $1 million in CARES Act funding available to the territory. The Division of Aquatic and Wildlife Resources is currently working with the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration regarding the process for Guam fishers to receive the CARES Act funding. NOAA is developing the guidelines that will provide requirements for how the money will be distributed. Once the guidelines are developed, the money will be given to a fisheries commission that will oversee the dispersal of the money to individual fishers on Guam. The first step in this entire process is to have all Guam fishermen register with Department of Agriculture's Division of Aquatic and Wildlife Resources. Fishers can find the registration form on doag.guam.gov under Resources, then Forms. The registration form is also being distributed via WhatsApp through Fishers chat groups. Hard copies of the forms are also available in the DAR office. For those with digital access, the agency recommends downloading the free Adobe Acrobat app or something similar to fill out the form, sign it digitally, and then email the form to fisheries@doag.guam.gov. Department of Agriculture Director Chelsea Munoz-Brecht urges fishers to register. Quote, our goal is to have every fisher benefit from this program. In order to make that happen, we need to first establish how many fishermen we have, both commercial and sustenance. For more information, you can call 735-0294. That number is 735-0294. You can also find the registration form on our website. The CNMI now has a total of 23 confirmed cases, and joining us from the CNMI is our Tomas Manglotnia. Tomas.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. The CNMI Office of the Governor announced late last night that there is now one more confirmed case of COVID-19 on Saipan. The press release last night says that the individual is a 30-year-old female, asymptomatic, and has existing medical conditions. She was a recent passenger of a May 28 United Airlines flight from Guam and originated from the U.S. mainland. Fellow passengers on the flight are now in quarantine and monitored by the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's medical team. The CNMI, as you said, now has a total of 23 confirmed cases. Of those cases, 5 are active, 16 have recovered, and 2 have passed away. And more news, families from the Marianas are stuck in the Philippines as their medical treatments are delayed due to COVID-19. We got a chance to speak with one of those patients and their family members. It's a global implication with ties to our island home. Take a listen.
None of us, ever expected this to happen, and none of us wanted it to happen.
Alicia Torres Tabalisma is marking her 5th month stuck in the Philippines. Her medical appointment disrupted by COVID-19.
We really want to go home, but still we can't go home yet because some of our procedures not done yet, and we need medical clearance before we leave.
The 47-year-old Saipan resident is with her son and husband. She knows of at least 20 other patients and their families from the Marianas who are also stranded. Many of their questions are still unanswered.
I'm an oxygen depender, so when I got here, I have a nurse escort. If I'm going back to Saipan, are they still going to provide me with my nurse escort for oxygen? We just need to, get through it and stay positive and pray that everything will be okay, right?
NMI U.S. Congressman Gregorio Sablan taking to Facebook responding to families like hers, writing in part that NMI residents in need should contact the Medical Referral Liaison or the Congressional Office. Governor Ralph Torres responded at a press briefing last Friday.
We are reserving funds for them for the flights that are available. Again, the first flight out will be definitely booked, but we're trying our very best to get everybody that's eligible and that can travel to come back home.
And more NMI news. The CHCC successfully issues 23 certifications of compliance on Monday in response to the governor's latest amendment to the CNMI emergency directives of this year. The Bureau of Environmental Health at the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation inspected and granted certification and compliance guidance for restaurants looking to offer dine-in services. Restaurants looking to open for dine-in services are required to have additional certification of compliance issued by CHCC's Bureau of Environmental Health. A listing of restaurants open for dine-in service will be updated daily at the hospital's COVID-19 page at chcc.gov.mp. And some news out of the Saipan Mayor's office. Yesterday, the mayor announced that he will commemorate the 74th Liberation Day Parade on July 4th, 2020, virtually. Additionally, this will be a Commonwealth-wide Liberation Day commemoration, he writes. Saipan will be joined by the islands of Tinian, Rota, and the Northern Islands. Together, he says, they will weave Liberation Day events to make sure that they honor our ancestors while meeting all of the governor's COVID-19 task force and CHCC guidelines. The Liberation Day theme will be Strength and Unity, Marianas Strong. Bree and Chris wanted to provide the latest information from the hospital's website on the community-based testing initiative. So far in Saipan, they've tested nearly 6,000 people. That number for testing on Saipan is now at 5,832. The amount of people tested on Tinian is 349, and 376 people have been tested on the island of Rota. That's the latest here in the NMI.
Thank you, Tomas, and also thank you for the blueberry rolls. They are fantastic. I love them. Don't you, Chris?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Tomas.
No problem. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks to all the KUM family for getting the news out on the Commonwealth, too.
Right. Sabrina just wanted to know how frequently these packages will be coming.
You know, Chris, I was threatened with my story not running the other time.
Hey, it is what it is. Thanks, Tomas.
Thank you.
Oh, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Back to news here at home. A superseding indictment charges retired University of Guam professor Thomas Marler with wire fraud and money laundering. Marler is accused for participating in a scheme to rig bids for numerous UOG federally funded projects from February 2012 until June 2015. According to court documents, two co-conspirators, United States Department of Agriculture employee John Hobart or Bart Lawrence and his daughter Janica Lawrence, are also facing federal charges for their part in the alleged scheme. Court documents further stating Marler and Bart Lawrence agreed Janica would start a business called Sansar Consultant in order to receive work awarded by UOG. Marler was the principal investigator in charge of awarding the projects. A hearing has been set for tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning in District Court Magistrate Judge Michael Berdalio's courtroom. Dusit International has taken over the management of the Outrigger Guam Beach Resort went into effect on June 1st. The hotel will be rebranded as the Dusit Beach Resort Guam. The expanded agreement with local owner Tanota Partners also included management of the Plaza Shopping Center. The 604-room hotel, which opened in Guam 20 years ago, is currently under renovation, and according to a news release, will showcase an all-new contemporary look and feel. All current Outrigger employees will be retained, and Dusitani Guam Resort General Manager Dean Huntsman will oversee operations as Dusit International's Regional Vice President of Operations. Dusit is one of the Thailand's leading hotel and property development companies. In national news, President Trump is signing an executive order addressing international religious freedom. This comes as people are criticizing the president for ordering protesters be cleared out so he could take part in a photo opportunity at a church near the White House. Natalie Brand has more details.
Protesters gathered outside St. John Paul II National Shrine ahead of President Trump's visit. It's his second trip to a house of worship in as many days.
I am your president of law and order, and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
Inside the Rose Garden, the president said Monday he sides with demonstrators who remain peaceful, even as federal police used tear gas to clear away hundreds of peaceful protesters outside the White House shortly before President Trump walked over to St. John's Episcopal Church to stand for a picture with a Bible.
To make a symbolic gesture, holding a Bible as if to spiritually condone a message and a posture that is antithetical to the teachings of Jesus.
White House sources tell CBS News the president's trip to the church was meant to be a show of strength. He's now threatening to use the U.S. military to end protests that have turned violent.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Democratic lawmakers say the president is abusing his power.
The administration is using the military as a tool to intimidate American citizens.
Speaking in Philadelphia this morning, presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden said the protesters have a right to speak out for those who have been left behind in America.
In addition to the Bible, the president might also want to open the U.S. Constitution once in a while. If he did, he'd find a thing called the First Amendment.
But he made clear that there is a difference between peaceful protesters and those who resort to violence. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
President Trump tweeted this morning that New York should call up the National Guard to protect New York City. In your Banking 671 report, when using electronic banking technology, it's important to be aware of the risks. Here's some tips to make sure you're ready for unanticipated situations. Sign up for your bank's online and mobile banking options. Set up an emergency fund. Make sure you have adequate insurance. Review the items in your safety deposit box and consider alternate storage options for anything you would need in the event of a branch closure. Sign up again for direct deposit with your employer. Also, another reminder, if you are applying for the PUA program, Guam Department of Labor is recommending that you sign up for direct deposit with your bank. That is your Banking 671 report, sponsored by our friends at Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. 6:39. Again, it's containing COVID. There's so many ways to catch the show right here on the radio. Thank you to Andy Wheeler and the Guam's favorite family for having us in here to do this thing. And there's also an audio stream, Docomo Channel 10. We're streaming at KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Right here on the radio again, good morning. And 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we throw it up on KUAM TV 11. And last but not least, on the Edward R. Murrow Award-winning social media networks. And thank you again to Reverend Tax Director Daphne Shimizu for congratulating us on winning that award. I thought that was very nice.
Yeah, she's always very nice, too.
So good morning to you guys on our KUAM News Facebook Live feed. We'll take a break and come back with more containing COVID next. Good morning on you.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday.
6:45. Hey, shout out to our stream team over here, our digital dudes. We got Jason Salas, of course, Joe Sir, and he's got his training wheels on now. Jacob Sablon. Good morning.
Good morning.
637-0094, that's the number. Definitely want to hear from you guys, and someone we love hearing from any of the mayors. I feel like they just know a lot. You know what I mean? They know what's going on the village level, Zori underground. So they got their first in-person meeting going down to I think it's at the Dedido Community Center, right?
Or Senior Center, I think.
Dedido Senior Center. So let's bring on Mayor of Dedido and the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, Dedido Mayor Melissa Savares. Good morning, Mayor.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
So have you guys set up the meeting area with the social distancing and all that? Is it ready to go?
Yes, it is. Yes, we're ready to go. It's tables are set, 2 per table at a distance, 1 on each end of the table kind of thing, and the tables are set to go. Everybody will be spaced out, and of course, we're ready to talk business, right?
Right, and so I know that you guys have been pretty much first responders on the COVID on just so many levels for the last couple months, but this is going to be the first time you guys have really got to address some issues that, I don't want to say non-COVID, but yeah, they're kind of non-COVID, right?
It's still village business as usual. Of course, we're going to talk about things that have been happening in the villages. Our senior centers. We have 12 senior citizen centers, plus adult daycare and dementia. The dementia center. We have, the concerns with our seniors not being able to come back yet, and how we can address those concerns and look at plans on ways to bring them back, addressing, keeping the social distancing in mind. Of course, we continue, Chris and Sabrina, to still feed the participants their meals on a daily basis. Those that drive up do a drive-through pickup, and then those that ride the bus and get home delivery meals. But, there's more than just, those things. Other businesses, as you know, we have many things going on in the villages that we have a new mayor-elect for Jordan, so he'll be participating as an observer today. He will be introduced to the body, and he will just observe until he is actually sworn in after the certification by GEC. And so, of course, there's a lot of budgetary concerns as well. There's some bills on the floor reflects on Mayor's Council issues as well. So those would be discussed. And
Mayor, the health insurance choice bill, this is something you guys passed a unanimous resolution in support of. That seems like so long ago, right, before the COVID, and now they're debating it on the session floor. So you anticipate any discussion on that? Because we had spoke with Angel yesterday, and he said that it probably would come up today.
Yes, we'll probably have discussion because it's one of the bills that we actually supported because we believe in choices, especially for our people who are government employees. And this past year we had our struggles with just having to adjust to one carrier. But that's probably, we did send in a resolution to support that measure to give employees a choice of to choose a medical insurance for their families.
Has there been any other conversations, maybe renewed dialogue with the senators at the legislature since this is on the floor now?
No, because we did send our resolution of support in for the choice of medical insurances. So, we'll let that our resolution stands. It will support our unanimous decision as a council, and so hopefully they would take that into consideration.
I was talking to some retirees yesterday about this choice issue, and what are you hearing from the retirees? Because I'm hearing that they definitely want to have that, especially given the COVID time. A lot of people have put their health and their health care in perspective, and the retirees I'm talking to are favoring choice with the health insurance.
Oh, of course, definitely.
What about this recycling revolving fund issue, Mayor?
Well, okay, so I've been in discussion with our executive director. Guam EPA, there was an announcement a few days ago that the funding has been turned over to the mayor's council. At this time, he still hasn't signed the memo of agreement between Guam EPA and the council. We are, I know that the EPA board has already approved for the transfer of funding. Our executive director needs to sign the MOA between EPA and the mayor's council, and then once that gets done, then it'll be walked through to the Attorney General's office for their review. Once that gets through the AG's office, then it goes to the governor for her signature. So that does take some time. I think one of the media, print media, had posted that that the money has been transferred already. Well, that's not quite right. It didn't get transferred yet. We're still in the process. Of course, with EPA being down for a few months, that was kind of the delay. We've been waiting for this funding so that we can address the abandoned vehicles, junk tire, all the recyclables in the communities that are littering our streets and our roadways and our neighborhoods. So we're hoping that we get that would be, before the end of the fiscal year, so that we can make sure that that our villages get cleaned. Of course, this is something that we've been working on annually. The issue with that is that we do need to wait for the money that's transferred from Guam EPA.
Mm-hmm. So once that money is transferred, how much are you guys looking at getting, and how is that going to be dispersed to each respective village?
Okay, so what happens is we work with the licensed contractors that Guam EPA has, that are licensed, all the contractors throughout the island that are licensed and permitted with Guam EPA. We want to make sure that their facilities, their hauling permits are up to date, and we divide equally the funding. Of course, what happens is we start off with say maybe $10,000 per village, and then per item. You can't combine the hauler for metal and junk vehicles and tires. They're all separate vendors. So you'll have one purchase order for tires, one purchase order for loose metal, one for white goods, and then one for junk abandoned vehicles. Mm-hmm. And so there are several vendors that we deal with that are permitted with Guam EPA, and of course they're all licensed. We share, we don't just choose one or two particular vendors. All the vendors that are permitted get a share of the pot, a purchase order, and they work with the village mayors. Mm-hmm.
How is that fair, though, if everybody gets the same amount of money, each village, when some villages are bigger?
The larger villages, the larger villages do get a little bit more. Okay. So maybe we would start, like the smaller villages, of course, would probably start off with 5,000, the larger villages with 10. So like not necessarily for just vehicles, but maybe I'll get 10,000 for tires, 10,000 for vehicles, and then another 10 for or 5,000 for loose metal and white goods, because they don't cost us much to dispose as we do tires. Mm-hmm. I mean, cars. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on across the board. All of us would get. The larger villages, of course, will get a little bit more, maybe 5,000 more than what the smaller ones.
And speaking of getting more, budget discussions are at some point going to really start ramping up. And I'm not sure if it's still the same way, but for the mayors, are they still all getting the same budget across the board?
When it comes to our special funds, like our village allotments, as far as the ground maintenance, well, we don't have ground maintenance for schools, but we have our island-wide beautification, street maintenance funds. Across the board, everybody gets a certain amount depending on our road mileage, and then after that we use a percent of the road mileage. I believe we're still on the 2009 road mileage from DPW. Of course, we go by the mileage. That's our island-wide beautification. So, but however, with the tourist attraction fund for beautification, cleanups and stuff, that is $20,000 across the board per village. Mm-hmm. So there's certain special funds that get equal distribution, and then with our street maintenance budget, because that comes out of liquid fuel taxes, that we get across the board, and then divided, whatever's left gets divided by based on the percentage of your road mileage.
Mm-hmm. How fair do you think that is, that mayors or villages are getting the same amount across the board, considering that, like Dedido, for example, it's the largest village?
Yeah, there are four of us, four large villages that still. Of course, we're always trying to fight for, disbursement by population. But of course, there's more smaller villages. And so the four of us kind of stick together. That's Dedido, Jigo, Manila, and Tumuning. We kind of stick together and say, we lobby with our colleagues. But you know what? We work with each other. Our budget is lump sum when it comes to the mayor's council. And if they see a need and we say, you have extra funding, and it's, because it's lump sum, it's just one account from the mayor's council. If, say, Umatic has only 70 cars to remove, and I still have 700 cars to remove, and he doesn't finish his funding, it's coming from the same account number. We work on that. We share, Mm-hmm. So, we compromise with each other as a body. So it's not just all mine. It's ours, So, right. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned it briefly earlier about what the plan is going to be and how you're going to be talking about what to do about the reopening of senior centers.
Yes.
What are some of the ideas that are being discussed or that are being contemplated?
It's really tough. 3 of us have really large active senior centers, and that's Tumuning, the Dedido Senior Center. I have 2 senior centers. So we have the Dedido Senior Center and the Manila Senior Center. And of course, Sinahaña, they're very active senior centers. A lot of our participants come on a daily basis. But because of social distancing, and we have to make sure that, our seniors are the most vulnerable population, right? And we've known that from the very beginning. How do you pick and choose who comes or what days they come? And because social distancing, we have, before COVID, there's 4 per table, and these are 6 feet tables, 6 feet long tables, but 2 on each side. They're less than 2 feet away from each other if they're sitting across from each other. So the concerns are we need to find ways. Even if we bought more tables, there's just not enough floor space. So those are things that we need to look at and discuss because we feel we can't. These are our seniors. These are our baby boomers. They're our prime, residents who lived their life, took care of their families, and are now enjoying their senior ages with their friends. And when they come to the centers, it's a social event for them, mm-hmm. and the activities that they participate in. So how do we segregate them? How do we keep social distancing, and then still allow them to come back? So those are things that we'll be discussing. There's no more floor space. We can't extend the building, and we just need to continue the discussion, which we have been on how we can gradually bring them back. And we talked to the governor. They're probably going to be one of the last.
Right.
With
the daycares, probably, right, Mayor?
Correct. I see the concerns. Yesterday, I received a call from a resident whose mother goes to our dementia center, and he said, "Mayor, I need to go back to work, and it's just me and my mom. Where am I going to put her? And now that his office is opening, he's called back. He can't just leave his mom by herself at home, and so he's needing to take a few more days off until there's a plan. And it's just a difficult task and a decision. How do we bring them back? And then we still practice the social distancing to assure that, like I said, we don't have enough floor space in the rooms. If we only allow half to come, how do we break the news to the other half that, those that live in a certain housing area can't be bussed in today because we have the car riders coming in. Those are the tough decisions that we need to and we see them, most of them, on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, because their meals get delivered to them. These are the participants, and our staff are content. How are you today? It's those little conversations just to make sure that they're okay. And their concerns now is their questions. When are we coming back? That kind of stuff.
Mayor, if it was up to you though, and you did the social distancing and stuff, if you didn't need anyone's approval, do you think you could pull it off in a way that's safe for the Manumco?
I would, if it was up to me, I would probably bring them into my gym, since we're not having youth basketball this summer because of, all the events that are coming up. I mean, that we've had to practice. However, we've opened our gym for the census to have them, because it's a large area, they can do appointments for residents to come in and do their census surveys. They will be using the gym this summer. So by appointment only, of course. So, this is something that needs to get done that will benefit our communities entirely in the future once we have those numbers. So, we just need to find another way. I don't know how, if we can. And the seniors are so used to being with each other. Those that are in congregated housing, we have Gura 82, which is an elderly housing area. We have Summertown. We have Trinquilidad. Those that are in congregated housing, even they practice social distancing. They talk to their neighbors through their doors, so that there's no physical contact. They know the concerns, but they do miss their friends that are not, that they see. When seniors are idle, sometimes their memory goes, right? So these are our concerns that we have for our seniors, and this discussion will continue.
Right.
You said you had spoke to the governor. Was there is this a
we,
meeting with the mayors, or just
we had we just started a
not a meeting or anything crazy like that.
No, it's not a meeting. No,
not a meeting.
It's we're having discussions now. We started every Monday with the governor, the speaker, myself, and the chief justice. So
that sounds like a meeting, Mayor.
Well, it's Zoom. It was Zoom meeting.
Oh, the Zoom.
And it's to start. We're moving on to plans for P3, Core 3. So of course the discussions are, how are we going to start opening the other places?
What do you think of that, Mayor? Do you think we're ready to gun it to Core 3, or are you concerned that it kind of seems like we've been having some positive cases lately?
That's my concern. Is now I haven't been to the mall, but I understand that at certain times of the day, the mall gets crowded.
Wow.
So even with churches opening, there's still people that feel not quite safe. They're still doing parking lot. I understand some churches are still continuing their Zoom services or what is it called? FaceTime? What is it? Facebook services. and
Facebook Live.
Yeah. So, because people still don't feel comfortable coming into congregated areas, it's going to take a little bit more time. When the positive cases, the 2 positive were announced yesterday, my concern is, oh my gosh, I hope it's not coming from a grocery store, department store, mall, And I'm glad that more of the testing is going into small community testing, because that's where, we can get the awareness out. I mean, the other day, the Dedido, they did a homeless, but it wasn't just homeless people that came. It's neighborhoods, they walked in, they drove, many walked in,
That's good.
A few drove in, but we had over 60 participants that came in to get tested. In other places where they did the homeless screening, they had like 30, a little over 30 in each area, but I was pleased to know that there was at least 60 that came in.
And also the fact that now it's for anybody. You don't have to have symptoms to go and get testing. And I think yours is Thursday, right?
Nobody's turned away.
About time.
Yes.
So, Mayor, it sounds like you're concerned about going to PCOR 3 because of these. I mean, there was a point where it was like 0 positive, 0 positive, 0 positive, and then it was like 11 positive, and then they were like, don't worry, it's just a cluster.
Yeah, cluster plus 1 somewhere else, right?
Right, and then we've seen, 1 positive, 2 positives, 2 positives. So there's definitely been an increase. I mean, well, when you have a bunch of zeros, anything above that is an increase. But so you're saying you're concerned about PCOR 3?
I am, because I don't want another closure, And one of the things is that, people are starting to get impatient because they want to do stuff. And, I always remind people, please be patient, be thankful that you didn't, have corona or COVID. You weren't a positive, because that's even worse, not only for you, but for your entire people that surround you. This whole experience is a life change, eye opener for all of us. We talk about we're all first responders. We talk about the different events that we respond to. I said I would rather have a typhoon, because after a typhoon, we clean up, we get back to, and then everybody's back to normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, so of course, this is something that, we just got to continue to pray that there are no more positives. People start, keeping their distance, wearing their mask is important. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday where we were setting up, and he says, well, if everybody's wearing their mask, we shouldn't worry about how far apart they are. And I said, but, we still need to practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it's also you touch stuff with your hands, and you touch that, then
Correct.
you touch your face. There's just so many ways. So many ways to catch the COVID.
Yes.
All right.
Was there any discussion in your meeting, Zoom meeting, about the homeless shelter?
They are still working on that. They're looking at other facilities, and of course, that discussion happens every time that there is a need.
It seems like we've been talking about that since before day one.
There's a lot of issues that we have to address, and you don't want to segregate and just stereotype people. So we have to be very careful with that.
Right. Well, I thought the last time we got an update was when one of the reporters asked during the media briefings, that were they looking at an RFP
that was
or
me.
something? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was some great reporter in the press conference that asked a great, hard-hitting question about the status of the hardened homeless shelter, and the governor had said that there's either an RFI or an RFP or an RF something out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm assuming that means we're going to be seeing some action soon. But, I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and this is like a basic Democrat principle for the Democratic Party to take care of the homeless, and I don't know what the hell is going on. It's been forever, it's been too long, and there's been too little done. But that's just my 2 cents, Mayor.
One of the processes is to also assist them in applying for some kind of shelter.
Right.
GURA has programs, Guam Housing has programs. There's programs out there with nonprofit organizations as well. West Care, if you're a veteran, you qualify for certain programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I have one individual who was actually positive COVID, was in an isolation facility, and is considered homeless. He was taken care of by West Care because he has a DD 214. They have a program, and he's being taken care of. He's not homeless anymore.
Yeah,
you know? So
that's good.
So there's many kinds of programs, and it's just about assisting them, and we are here to assist them in applying for services.
Good.
So, you know, we're not just going to say, hey, you're homeless, here's a paper. Sometimes those questions can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of intimidating, the PUA.
Nice segue, Bree. What are your residents saying about applying for this unemployment, Mayor? Have you seen the process?
They're going online.
Mm-hmm.
They're going online. They're applying. One called us the other day, said, you know, I made a mistake, but there's no way of me going in. So we said, call the 311 number and get assistance. And they said, yeah, but the assistant says to call the mayor's office. I said, I didn't go online, so I'm really not familiar with the questions, but there are people that can answer that, you know. So we're trying to direct them. And, you know, I met with the team. We're going to be using their planning. They have plans to open up the libraries on certain days for people who don't have access to a computer,
right,
and to use the library computers. So we're working as a team. You know, whatever support they need, we're here. Okay.
Right on. Well, thank you, Mayor. We'll let you go ahead, and I know you're prepping for the meeting. I heard Agate's serving.
Yes, Chris, Agate is serving, and today's his birthday. So shout out to Mayor Kevin.
Oh, happy birthday, Mayor Kevin.
Happy birthday.
Right on. I'm anticipating you Bula Manyahak.
Oh, I really don't know. Probably if they caught it.
I mean, don't play shy, Mayor. Come on. It is what it is. He's like, Manyahak, I don't know about Manyahak, Chris. And you're going to be the one with that high on your plate. Right. And Agate, though, they do, yeah.
Yes.
You don't have Manyahak and Daddy, though, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
no, my ponting basins don't have
Only tilapia, right?
Yes, and catfish.
Okay, Mayor.
Good luck today, Mayor.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Wash your hands.
Okay. Yes, I
Nice,
will. Bye-bye.
Okay. Daddy, Mayor Melissa Savares. Always great together. Let's keep it on the phones here. And there was a governor's physicians advisory meeting last night, so we want to fold in our plant, our inside man. Not too loud, right, Doc? Dr. Hoa Nguyen. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I guess we'll just start with, so there was a meeting last night. Was there also one over the weekend?
Yes, we called an emergency over the weekend, and then on Tuesday, just because, you know, we really have to get ready for the incoming flight from the Philippines, and that's just a big concern. So we have to make sure that everything we have is in place for that way. If any positive come up from incoming passenger, then we had to get, you know, be ready for the tracing team, for the clinic, and everybody. So the numbers come up very quick. You know, I think we put initially I expect about 500-600, but now I think the number's over 1,500 by the end of the month. So that's a lot of incoming passengers. I think most of this will be return residents. And they will be quarantined at home. So that's a big job for the tracing team to make on the phone call.
Right.
At least once or twice a day to check up on the patient.
Doc, are you confident that they have the manpower and the time to be checking up on these people we're going to be putting in home ISO?
We are working on it. I know that the number will go down, and I think that we have asked the public health tracing team to really bring the number of public health worker and the tracing team to come up adequately to make sure they make the owner phone call on the tracing, because there's a lot of phone call every day to make sure people doing okay at home, make sure that people are staying home like they're supposed to. This is require a lot of effort on the community in follow up with the mandatory quarantine at home, because they start to wander around, we're going to get in trouble.
Right.
I'm sorry, what was that number you said? Over 1,000?
Yeah, it's about 1,500 plus now, so it grows double the number that we expected. So,
So, Doc, this was something that we had been following, and you had told us that you advised the governor. So it looks like she took your advice. How's that feel?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we can it's an advice from all the physician, and the governor really listened to it. I mean, she's attended a meeting with us on Sunday because she's one to get involved. So, I mean, thank you for the governor doing that. And we all have to work together really to make sure that we don't have any second wave coming in. We put some restriction there to make sure that, the incoming passengers are somewhat safe in the way on the flight to come back to Guam. So basically, we're going to require them to have PCR testing prior to boarding. It will catch everybody. It's not 100%, but at least we can weed out some to make sure that they don't come on board with the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so the meeting Sunday was to discuss the return or these flights like from the Philippines, because Philippine Airlines, they announced, I think it was over the weekend, that they were going to resume their international flights on the 13th, and for Guam we're looking at twice weekly flights from Manila to Guam, or?
Yeah, I heard yesterday. I know the different numbers. Some say once or twice, but now they say 3 times. So it looked like the flight are full because the flights, I think it's like 200 passenger flight, and it's like 190, 180. So it's a full flight. So I don't think they have any kind of alternating seat like they're supposed to. So you're gonna pack people on a small plane, and that's not the most conducive way to fly at this point. So we're really concerned because if you have one positive on the plane, it's a nightmare to go trace everybody.
Oh my God!
On that flight.
Right, but the way it is now, if you're a returning Guam resident, you get to home quarantine. But if you're not a Guam resident, then you're still subject to mandatory quarantine at one of the government quarantine facilities, unless you have a PCR test before arriving, and it's negative.
Yeah, it doesn't matter you have PCR testing or not. They're supposed to be all negative. Everyone,
right.
That's one of the board requirement. Even if they're negative, we still need to quarantine them at home for 14 days.
Wait, are we talking about the returning Guam residents or visitors?
If a resident of Guam, they will be quarantined at home for 14 days. If they are non-resident, then they will be in the hotel for 14 days.
Unless they have a negative test.
Even if negative test,
they still have to
be 14 days in the hotel and at home.
Okay,
Because remember,
they have that option.
Tests, the negative tests mean that you kind of okay to get on board. But remember, a negative test doesn't mean that you don't have the virus.
Right.
That thing still takes 14 days.
Right. Quarantine is just you still have to quarantine no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
But I think what we do is we still have to make the phone call once or twice a day to make sure that they're doing okay at home or at the hotel. We still need to make sure that people stay at home and not going to work or not going to shopping anywhere. And also make sure that the family member in that family needs to be aware that they are also at risk. Because if they have elderly people in the family, or they have a lot in the family, 10, 50 people in one household good, they have to be very careful about. You got to treat like every incoming passenger have the virus. That's the only way that you can prevent from getting it. So they have to take caution at home also.
Doc, I know that this was a decision that you guys had made a few weeks ago and advised the governor of, but now that the decision's already been made, we're seeing news out of the Philippines that their COVID case count is rising. I'm looking at a story out of the Philippines here. Monday they announced 552 additional cases. So that being said, do you still stand by the decision, or do you think that we should just stick them in the hotels and that's that? I mean, obviously you don't.
The guideline we come out is really strictly it's for the U.S. and the mainland to people to come in. That's return residents from the U.S. we didn't expect PALS to announce the flight so early. United is right now is put on hold to further notice, but we didn't know PALS going to flight back in June. We would expect sometime in July or August, but so this caught us by some surprise, so that's why we had to kind of go back and on board. We can't change the home quarantine, but we can put some restriction there to make sure that we screen out some parts of the incoming residents from, we say international flights, meaning that it's not just single out Philippines, it's everybody, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and everything is changed every day, right? So depend on each country and how the case there is, it go up, go down, or they're stable, then we can decide per country. Right now, it's all international flights going to follow the same guideline.
So what is the guideline as a result of that meeting on Sunday?
So number one is they have to have a PCR testing at least 1 week before they boarding. Everyone to know to board, they have to have a PCR testing. And once they get to Guam, if you are a Guam resident, you go home for quarantine for 14 days. If you are non-Guam resident, then you need to go to the government quarantine hotel to stay there for 14 days. If you are become symptomatic during that 14 days, if you have cough, cold, abdominal pain, diarrhea, or loss of taste, anything like that, then you have to go to a clinic to be seen and be tested right away. And that will be communicated to public health so they can put in place the tracing, the tracking right away as soon as you know that you're sick. So that's the current guideline at this point after the Sunday meeting.
Okay, so Friday we announced that returning Guam residents were allowed to home quarantine with or without a negative test. Sunday you guys met, and we're just going to talk about returning Guam residents first. So for returning Guam residents, after Sunday's meeting, now you need a test that has to be negative from 1 week prior to arrival?
Only for international flights coming in. If you come in from the U.S., you won't need the PCR testing. We require that only for international flights.
This is for returning Guam residents?
Yes.
Okay.
For everybody, returning or
okay.
Everybody on the plane have to be PCR testing prior to boarding for all international flights.
But what if I'm my flight's originating in, say, Las Vegas, and then I take the route to Japan, and then from Japan to Guam?
If you show that you transit, you'll be okay. If you transit. Mm-hmm. If you transit to Narita to go to Guam, you'll be okay because you're considered a transit passenger. Mm-hmm. You're not staying in Japan for a long time.
Mm-hmm. So are we going to see a new executive order then to reflect this change that tests are now mandatory? For international flights?
Yeah, I think they're going to come out with something and they're going to add that, just modify the current guidelines. You don't have to change the guideline because the bottom line is everybody going to be 14 days quarantine, either at home or at the hotel. The only thing we add is the PCR testing for all international flights.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you're a returning Guam resident or not?
Even you return Guam resident, because a lot of our residents are staying in the Philippines now for about 2-3 months already.
Yeah.
And they want to come home. Mm-hmm. So, this is a way that we create a safe way for them to come home.
Mm-hmm. But they could have came home under the announcement on Friday, though, I thought.
Yes, they can, but they have to have the PCR.
Now
testing.
they have to. Okay.
That's the kicker. Because, you can't catch them all. You cannot catch everybody, but if you catch one over there, I know it's because every time you have one positive here, you have a chance to have, to spread in the community. So, every one that we catch positive and do not let go into the plane, we are one step forward. Mm-hmm. So,
right. Yeah, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want to make sure that people have the correct information when they, arrive to Guam. Was there anything else from that emergency meeting on Sunday that was discussed other than this new requirement for PCR testing?
We make sure both hospitals are ready for the surge. So we're confident that both hospitals, GMH and GRMC, can handle if they have any surge on the COVID-19 patient. And also make sure that especially the team that do the tracing and tracking, they have to be in place. And that's something that right now is in the process. I know that they will have to add quite a few more people on the team to get ready. And, that's something that is a growing number and is growing every day. Like you talk about 1,500 people coming in, but that's not the end of it. Every week you have 2 or 3 flights, so that number is going to keep adding up. And we have to have at least probably about 30, 40, 50 people on the tracing team in order to make those phone calls, unless we have a different way to track and monitor this passenger. We have several apps that public health have, but they also have some limitations. So I think every day they're still exploring new ways to try to track this one. But the most important, guys, is you need to pass out to the public is that the arriving passenger and the family we really need their help in abide by this quarantine rule, because I tell you, we don't want to go backward to core 1. And I think if the cases are going up, I don't think the governor will not hesitate and put us backwards, because this is very important. It can spread out there if they not follow the quarantine guideline at this point.
I'm still not even clear on what it takes for us to go backwards to PCOR 1. It sounds very complicated. Like it would take
it's
a lot of positive cases.
Yeah, a lot of positive. It's not just positive case of
hospitalizations, right? There's different factors.
Yeah, that's the key. If you overwhelm both hospitals with the COVID-19 positive patient, and the Navy is still here, but we overwhelm both hospitals, man, I tell you, it's a bad sign. And it's not, and that would go backward, and we set July 1st as open for tourism. And that's like a big hit, and I don't think our island can afford, our economy can afford to take a big hit like that. So we have to be very cautious of everybody and everyone. Like the mayor said, and I know the case is 1 and 2 and very low number, but you have to practice using your mask. You have to practice using social distancing, and you have to be careful. And if you are sick, you got to go see a doctor and not go to work, because you don't want to keep spreading, and the virus is still out there. You don't have to wait until the incoming passengers come in; they're still here. So you have to be very cautious about it. We don't have any people in the hospital, and doesn't mean that we're out the wood. So we're out the wood when we have the treatment or we have the vaccine, and we don't have none of those 2 yet.
Right, but it's also hard to tell the public we're not out of the woods when we're opening everything. So, it's very, you got to kind of leverage both. I understand.
Yeah, you have to walk that fine line. We can't stay status quo forever. This is a new norm, and we just need to make sure to practice the new norm. The outdoors, when a long time before the COVID-19, they already wear their masks already. Right. We kind of look at them and say, hey.
I know. I always look at them like, God, what's your problem? Why are you wearing a mask? Are we stinky?
I know. Yeah, but that they already had the power curve already, but now we just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
So it's uncomfortable.
I like it.
We have to get used to it. So, so we want to talk about the school. So they're going to do a pilot study on the school for the summer, for the small school, the Japanese school, all that kind of stuff, and we have a team that work on that to see if it is safe, and we have some guidelines to put in, and if it works, then DOE can try to adapt the same way that they do in the small school.
Wait, so can you repeat that, Doc? You're going to be doing a study with the Japanese school?
There's a pilot study for school. There's a lot of.
Do you mean the Japanese schools in Japan or the one here?
Oh, not here. It's very small class. It's like 50 people in
Right.
that class, and also for the challenge kids, the special program that they need to kind of because we can't keep those challenge kids at home all the time. We really put them back a lot, so we try to open a small class, and we work with public health in those small schools to try to open up during the summer. I know DOE is not open up during the summer, but this small little class here would be in the pilot program to make sure that it's safe to send this this kid back to school with no new finding of the
Who's
case.
doing this study?
We have a group of physicians together. I think it's headed by Dr. Mike the pediatrician, and they put together a plan and presented. But we have to do this little pilot study. Remember, it's a very involved, very small subgroup of students, and we put things in place in the class, and we're going to run through it. It's monitored by most of the clinic, so we will keep a very close eye and see how we do throughout the summer.
And we're just talking about a class, or we're talking about, how many students?
It's a small class. The class size is about, I think, less than 10 people in the class. It's very small, so it's not big. So it's not involve a large amount of people, probably less than 100 or 200 kids. So it's like I say, it's a pilot study. It's not something that that involves a large scale. I know, like I say, DOE don't have anything for the summer, so
right.
This is something that they can look at and try to implement and by next school year if possible.
So have you guys prepared any kind of advice for the Department of Education on what type of reopening and measures? Have you been part of that conversation?
I think they're going to try to meet with the DOE and present their plan. Like I said, all we try to do as a advisory board is try to get somewhat the new norm for everybody, so we got to take this little step here throughout the summer, because I know all the kids want to go back to school, and this is not...
Wait, what did you say?
Yeah.
All the kids want to go back to school? I got to fact check that, Doc. Fact check that. First of all, where'd you get your information?
How many are these kids going to be tested first? How does this study work? They're
not going to be tested first. Kids is unique way. They mostly it's not easy for the kid to pass the virus to the adult. It's easy for them to catch them. There's a lot of guidelines that Dr. Mike Uman and the rest of the physician have come up with, and they do a lot of research, look at a lot of stuff in the States and in different countries, and they just try to implement just a small program, right? Just like I said, they call it a pilot study, so it's going to be very closely monitored by all the physicians to make sure that they run well. They even go to the school and then do the inspection and meet the school that's open. It's very well run thing, and hopefully they do well. And I say they're going to work with DOE and try to help them. We're not going to tell you what to do. Just we're going to give some recommendations. Because remember, this is all about the healthcare system. So we're going to try to help everyone.
And this is voluntary, right?
Yeah, it is voluntary.
Okay.
I mean, the school has their own guidelines. So they meet the field school, and they're really strict in the guidelines. So it's very good. I mean that, our guidelines is a basic, and they can implement anything above that to protect the kids and the parents, the teacher, all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff we try to do. Again, we got to go through the summer. It's a new norm, so we have to kind of move forward. Unless we have a big spike, and hopefully we won't.
We don't.
How old are the kids?
This probably ninth grade to below. I think this is a special. A lot of them is for the special kids, special students. So a lot of like I say, there's a language for a lot of the students. So I think the Japanese school, they want to open. It's very small. They think like 50, 60 people on it.
Right.
It's not too big. So we just make sure that when they open, that they're safe and they're monitored by the physician.
Right on. Yeah. Keep us posted on that, Doc. That sounds interesting.
And
Yeah,
also,
I mean, anything else, we'll keep you posted and anything else, I ask them to talk to you.
And also in your physicians advisory group meetings, have you guys had any discussions on businesses that have since reopened under PCOR 2 that have been violating any of the guidelines? And are they going to be held accountable? Or how are they even going to be held accountable?
Every business is open. They submit some type of guideline to the Chamber of Commerce and to Public Health, and they've been reviewed to approve it. So, I think that we don't have any manpower to go out there and make sure everyone follow the guideline. But again, every business do want to open, and they don't want to, find out that they break something because it's a case in that business. Because that doesn't mean they're going to shut the business down. So I think every business will take great responsibility and try to follow the guideline put forward to public health by the industry. So no one want to get shut down. I tell you, people want to open, and they're going to take all the precautions to try to protect the customer and their employee.
But if nobody's enforcing anything, anybody just sounds like can just open.
Yeah, I don't think not people go around and inspecting them. It's a customer responsibility too. When you go to a restaurant, you go to a business, and you see this don't look right. You go to your beauty shop, and you don't look right. I think it's the responsibility of every customer to report it.
Right.
Report it to public health?
To public health or to anybody that's supposed to enforce this thing. But I think that's the way that we have to trust our business and go forward. Because I tell you, you can't go police every business, make sure they follow. But like I say, so far from what I see, when every business, it's not like it's picked up 100%. People are still very cautious, and they still don't go to a restaurant to eat. Not that many. So and the restaurant wanted, so they really want to practice very good precaution on all the customers. So I think we do okay, guys. I think let the business do their own stuff.
Right on, Doc. Well, thank you for your time, Doc. Definitely appreciate all the insight that you provide from the Physicians Advisory Group.
Yeah, was there anything else, though, that was discussed?
No, that's it. That's it, Sabrina. We basically just want to move this whole island forward.
Okay, so Dr. Cruz didn't give anything on the Tier 2 clinics?
No, there's no Tier 2 clinic. Guys, it's kind of a conflict interest for the Tier 2 even discussing that. We just put that in the AG office and let them run it. But,
okay, so it's still there.
If I'm the chair of the advisory board,
you never kick Dr. Cruz under the table or anything, Dr. Nguyen? Like, hey man, what the hell, dude?
No, we work together. I mean, he's under a lot of tremendous responsibility and stress, and he's a lot on his shoulders. So we work together. And,
right on.
So he's very good.
Okay. Well thanks.
Real quick, public health emergency. Are we still looking at it? June 30th, it expires. We've got the announcement about international flights, Philippine Airlines. Are we looking at another possibility of it being extended?
I don't know. I think right now to June 30th, right? Yeah, really depend on this incoming flight. I think everything right now, I feel
just
like
wait and see.
Just put our heads and like I said, even in my clinic, we trying to come back somewhat normal, but I put everything on hold now just because we don't want to change so much and let our guard down. So it's just really depending on this incoming flight and see how we do by the end of June.
All right,
Doc.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you. Wash your hands.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good day.
Right.
You too.
Let's keep it on the phones here and go over to the kind of switch gears a little bit and bring on Art Paris from the Guam Power Authority. Good morning, Art.
Half a day, Chris. Half a day, Bree.
Hi, Art.
Thanks for joining us. We just give you the floor. We know that there was a decision that come down about an extension on the disconnection ban, right? Is that the right word?
That's correct.
I like the way that sounds for the customers. A disconnection ban.
Not necessarily ban, Chris, but it's more suspended to June 30th. That's going to reflect that a public health emergency announced through executive order from the governor.
Right.
So what both utilities and through the CCU is to basically reflect that, give our customers time to communicate their situation with both water and power. The last thing both utilities want is to interrupt critical services to home or business. So we're encouraging customers between now and the end of June to please communicate with the utilities, both of them, water and power, if you're having difficulty making payments on your utility accounts. We've posted on our social media page, on our website, our splash page, and other mediums, the different ways to pay both utilities. We have an app that has new features. You can call both utilities by phone. You can do your checks, mail-in payments, drop boxes that are available, and you can do cash payments. We always accept cash. Both utilities never turn down cash. But the payment locations are Fidian. You have the Upper Tumon drive-through, and certain banks that are subject to individual bank policies. And also Treasurer Guam, all of their locations are accepting utility payments. But the most important thing is between now and the end of the month, please call us. We'll work with you. We understand the situation that's out there in the public. It's affecting our island. I know that the recovery is going to take a while, and we're like all the hashtags been saying we're all in this together. We understand what's going on. Please communicate with us. Please get it on the record that we're under you want a payment plan, and we will work with you on a case-by-case basis.
Right, so it's really on the customers. Don't just hear this and say, oh, they're not going to disconnect till June 30th, and then, go back in your house and turn on the AC and blast everything. You got to call, correct, Art?
Well, call or visit us. Visit us at either your lobbying or the customer service lobbies. Speak to a customer service rep. Get it on record. Provide whatever documentation you can to describe your situation. We know that some stimulus has been out there. We know that there's processes with the unemployment going on. That's still happening for a lot of our people. But we need to hear from them. I think that's the most important thing. Communicate with us. Get on a record. We'll work with you. There's a lot of tools and resources being made online and available to customers that they may not know about, and we could discuss that with them and get them on and keep the services flowing for them.
What's the number, Art?
Well, for GPA, it's 647-5787. Waterworks, you can go online on their Facebook page. They're very good about posting their contact information. But like I was mentioning earlier, there's online and it's all secure.
Nice.
So we would encourage customers to use those different mediums to make payments with both utilities and communicate with their water and their power companies.
We do have a question from one of our online viewers. They're asking about the status of rebates that was offered when you purchased an air conditioning unit. Are they on hold or has it resumed?
It's my understanding that we're still taking in the applications.
Okay.
And recently, Bree, there was an announcement from the PUC that there's also a portion of the LEAC that's been made available to continue funding for that program. So I'm very happy about that. This is something that people can get a rebate to the purchase of qualified energy efficient appliances through our trade allies and help manage their utility costs.
Is there any power outages right now?
Yeah,
somebody asking about debit.
We're getting comments here about power outages in the central area. Outages every week for the last month. I got a message saying that you guys have said it's a generation issue.
Sure. There's been what happens, Chris, is if and Bree, if we have what's if there's a mechanical problem for a power plant, and for whatever reason it goes offline, and a certain number of circuits are lost to help stabilize the system until we're able to bring up backup units. And that's been happening. I know it happened today, this morning. My area, Cañada, got affected by what happened this morning. There was a problem at Cabras.
See, guys, even GPA has the power outage.
Yes, but we feel it too, Chris, and we do our best to respond to it quickly. And I'm very happy that we had the backup generation available to compensate for these losses if they do take effect. So we're fortunate in that regard that we have enough reserve generation, and as we bring up the new power plant and other battery storage projects as they come online, we can lessen the impact this has on our customers.
Right. Well, we do have a comment from our one of our viewers, a good friend of ours, Glenn Lujan. He said, I tried going online with GPA and GWA, and they are very good at answering questions via their Facebook page for customers. I am quite impressed. So
wow.
Kudos to you guys.
Well, yeah, I know we promoted this on the air before, Bree, during Typhoon. A good way to communicate with GPA and Waterworks is through the social media pages with direct messaging and so forth. Our reps on both sides of the here at Fidian and Hilaling and Upper Tumon are pretty good at responding to those direct messaging, getting back to the one-on-one. I think that's what it is going to go forward. We're going to be more. Connecting more with our customers through social media and other online features as we make those available.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much for checking in with us. Art, anything else that you wanted to get out to the public?
Sure. We appreciate everybody's support. I know that a lot of our people are going through some hardships. I think if we all work together and we take care of one another, we can pull through with minimum impact. And I know it's going to be a while, but I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of organizations that are extending their reach out to help people, and we're very much a part of that, and we see what's going on, and we want to do as much help to our people as we can.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks, Art, and thanks to the employees over there at GPA and GWA. I know that you guys are one of the agencies that never shut down and kept our island going throughout this whole crisis.
Thank you for your service.
And thank you for the opportunity to get on the air and speak to our people.
Let's make it a habit, Art. You got our number. We'd love for you to be a regular.
There you go. Thank you very much.
I want to be really close with GPA, so when those disconnections start. Oh, Art, I don't know. Bree asked because I was doing stuff on the side. So we've extended the disconnection ban. What about new accounts and are we doing new connections now? Because I remember Simon had said that both were on hold during the COVID.
Well, we're operational, Chris. I mean, if you're moving to a different apartment or you have a house put up, we're doing the inspections of our engineering, and we're making those we're putting those schedules out. So if you have all the documentation and you have all the clearances and so forth, please submit them. We'll hook you up. I mean, we need the revenue. We don't rely on the general fund for our revenue stream, so we need to get that up and rolling. That's why it's important to get the messages out on our operations.
Right on. Thanks, Art.
All right. Thank you.
Wash your hands. Okay, stop. All right. You ready to go behind bars, Bree?
Sure.
We need to do like an intro with like the jail. Can we work on that, digital guys? I want like a
sound effect.
Like in the jail bars closing.
Dun dun dun. Oh no.
Yeah, just
wrong one.
Hey, Jason. Say good morning to the ladies out there. They were asking about you.
I doubt that's it. No. Okay. The one thing of beauty in here. Can we please hold up once again Okay, I didn't know until you guys mentioned it today that's blueberry cream cheese.
Yeah. Yes.
Basically, so you guys did not share them with me yesterday, which broke my heart.
I did.
And then you tell me today that even though they are available right now, they got cream cheese. So because I'm lactose intolerant, I can't eat them anyway. So I'm not a happy camper this morning. But they look amazing.
They are.
So thank you, Tomas, once again. Okay, and you know probably better than anybody, Chris, because you've got so many connections up in Saipan. Saipan is really, really renowned and revered for its bakeries.
Right.
Saipan has amazing baked goods.
Like I said, it's the blueberry capital of Micronesia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, when I used to go, when I was at Guam Cable News, when it used to be open, they used to send me to Saipan.
Whoa. You're showing your age there, Bree. Guam Cable News? Whoa, what's that?
Yeah.
Does that even show up in a Google?
I don't know.
If you try searching it, it's like, get off my lawn.
But yeah, they used to send me to Saipan, and I'd have to work in Saipan 3 days a week and report for the news over there, and then
Right.
fly back to Guam. But I used to go to this one bakery, and they had this like mocha bread,
Ooh.
and it was just so good. Oh, I missed that.
All right, Tomas, if you're listening, that's next. Tentacle mode. Mocha
No,
bread.
but I really like this blueberry bread. And then there's the other bread that we get.
From Great Harvest or something.
Is it
Juan
ube?
Carlos. Yeah, it's a purple
Ube. Oh.
taro or something.
And for people wondering and everything, I mean, these weren't strings that we pulled to actually get Tomas to send this to us. I mean, we used normal channels for shipping between Saipan and Guam. They got there fast. They really took care of it. They were aware of what the goods were. And so for anybody that's thinking of shipping stuff back and forth between your friends and your family up in Saipan and everything like that, they are running at full capacity and they will take care of you. So that's a great way that, the commerce again and the logistic systems are working between us and our
This
friends
came
up
in
in
through
NMI.
Star Marianas.
Yeah.
And when did Tomas say he sent that? I mean, he got here like,
Got here in a day, I think.
couple hours after. I mean, it's not exactly like
It was
a
on
transcontinental flight, but
the Blueberry Express, guys.
Yeah.
What it was.
Star Marianas, thank you for you guys for taking care of us. And we're nobody special. They'll take care of you guys too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thanks. So anyway, now that we talked about our blueberry cream cheese bread, now let's go behind bars with Major Anton Hogan of the Department of Corrections. Good morning, Major.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess first of all, I wanted to start with I was talking with Adriana, and you actually you testified in former Jonia Mayor Blas's hearing that he had, where he's trying to get out of jail for the special election. And so I heard that's accurate, right? You did?
Yes, I was. I was at my office and we phoned in and participated on the telephone conference.
And so you were brought in to kind of talk about some of the things that Mayor Blas had brought up. I think he was crying about the conditions there at the Gotnian lockup. So what type of conversation did you have with the court during that hearing, Major?
Well, he just had some issues about his medical care, and he just felt that the medical care that he was receiving was not adequate. But we did get with our medical staff, and we sat down with the attorney and the representatives, and we went through the treatment that he was receiving within DOC, and what we were doing for him as far as his medical concerns, and that was presented to the court, and at the end of the day, the court accepted it and decided not to use a medical reason as far as not to release him.
And so
and they asked DOC what was our thoughts on it, and we said, we don't really, it's not our position on whether somebody gets released or not. That's really not our concern. My only concern on my part was, we didn't want them to be released because of something we allegedly did or not, or did not do.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that was clear, that we were providing the medical care that he's entitled to. Whether he disagrees with what he was receiving or not, that's a different story, but based on the standards, we are providing that. And so at the end of the day, that was not used as a reason to release them, and which we're okay with, as long as our name is not thrown in there as a
tarnished,
reason why
right?
tarnished, and why they let somebody out of jail.
How does that affect the way you treat somebody going forward? Because we had some of the inmates, make some noise this year, and there have been the allegations of retaliation that we've heard about. So when someone like former Mayor Blas goes on and says, I'm not getting they're not treating me like I get treated at St. Luke's or whatever, how does that temper the way you deal with them moving forward? Does it kind of keep you more on your toes, Major?
Well, it does, of course we get affected by it, but we just, continue to move forward. I mean, we are professionals in our job, and so we take their complaints and we refer to the right people, and we make sure that, they're all being addressed. And no matter what we do, sometimes they just don't agree with it. But we just keep pressing on. We document everything. We make sure we're documenting what we're doing every step of the process, so that if we are challenged or if we are called to task on it, we can show, we have the documents to show what we are doing. And if we're not, and if it's determined that we're not doing something or we should be doing something else, then of course we go back and we revisit the issue and we attack it another way.
Maybe attack is not the right word.
Well, I mean, we address the issue another way,
Yeah.
to make sure it's taken care of.
So, Major, about the incoming, have you guys ironed out all the kinks with the incoming that you had started with the mailing into the packages, and then you stopped it, and now we're back to...
Yes. I mean, all the packages, I believe there were, God, I don't have the numbers, almost 200 mail packages, I believe, that came in. Right. 150, I believe, 155, maybe of mail packages. Parcel packages, that's all been taken care of, and it's been given to the inmates. We've also have the drive-through incoming that we've been doing in Manila, and that's been going on since May 25th. It's going until June 5th. And I think as of yesterday, we've received over 250 different incoming hygiene, packets of personal hygiene and stuff for the various inmates.
Mm-hmm. Any
so it's going well.
Mm-hmm. Any contraband through the incoming, drive-through, over the fence?
Not well. Okay, so not through the incoming, the drive-through. But it's very quick. I mean, the family drive in. Their temperature is taken at the gate. They drive up. They don't get out of their vehicle. They hand the materials to the officer. He verifies it real fast, puts it on the table. It's all wiped down with bleach, disinfectant. Everything is wiped down, tagged, and put to the side to be delivered. Now, in the mail side, parcel packages, again, we open it up in the presence of the inmate to verify, making sure. And we did confiscate, not necessarily contraband itself, but, family members sent in some syrup, tea mix, and some other things that are not authorized. Mm-hmm. And so those things had to be confiscated from the package, from the parcel package. But other than that, on those two areas, nothing major. Mm-hmm. In regards to the contraband, the other contraband, we have last week we've intercepted another another package was attempted to be thrown.
Good D, guys. Good interception. Take 6.
We got that. Yeah, we intercepted that. Okay.
What about but you still haven't found who's responsible? It's
no. We've shored up some of our perimeter. We've put some fences on the exterior side. We've put more lights out there. If you pass by the prison, we've even put a little tower on one of the buildings there on the side, on one of the area where one of the officers stands on the outside. We put a second story, increase the lighting in the rear end on the back side, and we were able to intercept. We've done a few shakedowns, and in that process, we found some contraband in some common areas.
More recently, Major, because I know that
just last week, I think it was, we did some over the weekend, shakedowns, and that's all standard business that we, do random shakedowns every now and then, just to clean up the house and make sure get rid of any nuisance contraband like cardboard boxes and other things they're not supposed to be having. And then we do come across some other contraband stuff that may be hiding, and they stash it in certain areas of the unit.
What kind of contraband, Major?
We found like a cell phone, some Copenhagen cigarettes, lighters, just things that we normally find.
The usual.
Yeah, we normally it's a cat and mouse game back and forth trying to keep that stuff out of the prison, but we're doing our best to to keep it out as best we can.
Have there been any developments with those inmates and detainees who were busted, and then remember we had talked about some of them refused the test, some of them took it, the drug test?
Yeah, I mean they did meet with the warden, and they went over some issues and concerns and what happened. Some of them did take the test, others didn't take the test. Some of them, I think, are still going through the ACC process, if I'm not mistaken. We've kind of, dealt with that as, best we can, or it's still ongoing.
What about the health of the inmates? Any of them been getting sick and having any of the symptoms, or has there been any effort to test any of them?
Well, with regards to the COVID, no. As of now, we don't have anybody that has required any medical attention because of it. There has been talk about testing the entire population, and so
what kind of talk, Major?
Well, I know our director has sent an email. He has spoken with Mr. Norcy about it, and the issue becomes: do we have enough tests to test the 600 and some people that are in the prison? on my side, I'm going to be concerned about logistics because when you test them, you have to isolate them for a certain amount of time. So if we have a housing unit that has about 80 people and half want to take the test and half don't because you can't force them to take a test.
Right.
Remember, we got to isolate them. So the other concern I'm going to be concerned about is, do we have enough space to move people around? Because we're going to have to isolate people. We're going to have to maybe open another unit and keep them separated.
Right, Major, let me cut in real quick here. Good morning. We're KUAM FM in Hagatni, Guam. Again, this is the KUAM News takeover of Containing COVID. Good morning to our TV 11 viewers where we have flicked the switch and we're now broadcasting live on KUAM FM Hagatni, Guam. On the line now we have DOC's Major Anton Hogan, where we are currently behind the bars, but just for this phone call and talking with the Major. Go ahead, and we're actually talking about testing of the inmate and detainee population at the Manila compound.
Request has been made.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, in regards to testing, if we decide to test everybody, there's going to be some logistic issues we're going to have to work out as how do we properly separate them, especially when we don't have a lot of space. And then remember, we have detainees, we have inmates, we have max inmates, medium inmates, we have inmates that can't be around each other. Right. We have to keep them separated. They have conflicts and all these other issues that we would have to look at when we determine where we're going to house somebody and how we're going to do this. It's not undoable, but it's going to take some challenge to do it. So personally, we hadn't had any symptoms, and I think our protocols have been working to this point. So if, again, somebody develops symptoms, we have a procedure in place on how to address it. If they do decide to test them, again, that would be beyond my call.
Right.
We would just have to work out the logistics of how
And
to
is
do
that
it.
what's happening now, Major? Is you guys are kind of looking at, like you said, what you got to do if we are going to end up testing the population?
Yes, because we'll have to separate them. Let's say, again, we got 80 people and only 40 want to be tested.
Right.
Well, I have to separate that 40 from the other 40, and I got to make sure they're, quarantined for 14 days away from everyone else.
Right.
To insurance. So that's again, that's a challenge. So not undoable, but I guess we just have to try the best way to approach it. But for me personally, and again, right now we've been doing well, and no one has tested positive. No issues with it. I'm sorry, and I think we can stay the course for now and see how it goes. We're not out of the woods yet, but I think we're a lot better off today than where we were back in March.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to follow up on something, and this was pre-COVID, and we had talked about it. We've done stories about it, and this was under the previous DOC director, Samantha Brennan, and it was about the grant funding. I think it was from the Department of the Interior that the Department of Corrections received for to come up with, I believe, a plan to modernize, I think, the prison.
Yeah, the development and creation of a master plan.
Right. Whatever happened to that? We still have this grant funding in place, or is it?
We still have the grant. What we did was we requested for an extension of the grant, and so we were granted an extension until next year.
Okay.
We moved forward with it. The contract is under review at the AG's office now for that, and so once that's done, it'll be pushed out, I believe, to the next signatures on that, and eventually go to the governor for her signature. But we are moving on that. And again, we were actually doing it prior to the COVID, but then when the COVID hit, it kind of slowed everything down a little bit because the AGs worked on limited staff and everyone was kind of away from the office.
Right.
But we are still moving on it. The grant does not expire until next year.
When next year?
At this point, it expires around February. I believe February of next year, but we've already been in communication with the grantor, and they understand the situation with the COVID, and so if we needed to go farther, we write them a letter and we explain our circumstances and outline what has taken place and what has been the holdup, and they've been very good to us as far as extending the grant.
Yeah, it's just like extension number 3 or 4?
About 3.
Yeah, they're like, hey, as long as you guys keep extending, we don't got to give you the money. So
yeah.
And how long has it been at the AG's office?
Just about a few weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But again, they're working to limited staff too, so
back open they should be, I thought.
Yes. But I know they're trying to still maintain that social distance, and I think some may be working from home and still trying to keep the office at a bare minimum. So.
Yeah.
Major, I know we had spoke earlier about this health insurance choice thing, and you haven't used your insurance, which I thought was kind of interesting. But you were saying that there are some grumblings with some of the other officers about lack of choice and the problems they've been having.
Well, we've had a few officers a little upset about it, especially those that have some serious medical issues, medical concerns, and they really need it for them or their family. A lot of it, just getting referrals. Some of it is just reimbursement, having to pay up front and pay some of their medical bills out of pocket before they wait for the reimbursement. But I've been fortunate enough not to use my insurance, so we've been okay. But yeah, there are some that have some issues and concerns.
Right. And so is this something that they have eyes on, you think, as this bill's on the session floor this week?
I think a lot of them are interested in it if there's choice. I mean, choice is always, if you look at it, when we did the insurance before, when we had the different carriers, we would meet with individual representatives from the company and go over the plan. Each plan was usually different, unique from the other, and sometimes it's good because if you have family issues or certain medical conditions that you have a concern about, you can see which plan will cover you best in that area. When you only have one insurance company says, here, take it or leave it, here it is, you really got no choice sometimes. You just got to take it.
Right.
And it may not be what you need, or it doesn't offer what you need in regards to your family medical issues.
Right. Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, the other side of it is cost, right? I mean, that's the other issue they're trying to say is the cost, because even if you have 3 plans, if you can't afford it, then it's just not a plan at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand both sides. You want to maintain the cost, so you don't want the government employees having to pay a lot, especially for those that don't have the financial backing to do that right away. But I guess we're just going to have to see how it plays out. I saw them. I briefly watched some of the hearing yesterday.
Right.
They were discussing it. So again, I'm very fortunate that we've not had to use that. I've took advantage of the dental plan, but not necessarily the medical side.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. So the bottom line is they kind of feel like they want to have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's good to go in there and see what is available from the different carriers and pick what best fits their family. That's the whole bottom line.
I wanted to talk about overtime because we interviewed Robert Koss from the Guam Federation of Teachers earlier this week to get an update on the lawsuit that they plan to file, and he did indicate that it's not just going to be about double pay but overtime. And some of the plaintiffs are people that have signed up were from the Department of Corrections because they still haven't been paid overtime. How far behind is DOC?
We actually paid 3 pay periods.
You sure about that, Major?
Yeah, we were like 5 behind. We paid 3. I think we have 2 more that are pending, and they are working on that. So hopefully that will be paid out soon. I can't say when, but I know the admin staff were working on that. But yeah, we paid it. They normally don't. I think it was like 2 Fridays ago maybe that they paid the. Not last Friday, but the previous Friday, where they paid, I believe, 3 pay periods of overtime.
Okay.
I would have to double check. I think it was about 3 this week. I mean, I don't make overtime, and I don't get any checks, but I believe it was about 3 paychecks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far behind, though? I mean, 3 out of...
At the time, I believe we were 5 pay periods behind.
Oh, okay. So you still
owe? About 2 behind.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And so it's the overtime, Chris, has always been, I've been, again, DOC 26 years, and we've always had this issue with overtime, and
that doesn't make it okay, though, Major.
Yeah, I know, and we all wish it was a lot more untimely,
right? Yeah.
Quicker to get paid, but we do work as fast as we can when there's money available to pay it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Major. Hey, and we'll check in with you again. As always, every week, once a week, we go behind bars. I'm good after that. So we'll get you on again next week, Major.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Wash your hands.
Thank you.
That's
okay.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. And let's keep it on the phones. I wanted to bring her on because she covers courts, cops, and she also does a pretty bang-up job at these daily press conferences. Adriana.
Not daily.
I mean, that was a joke.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Adriana Cotero. Good morning, Adriana.
Good morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So I know,
Nice joke there. Nice laugh early.
right? You know, I'm always trying to brighten you guys' day. So anything there that we discussed with the major that caught your attention that maybe you want to follow up on, or?
Well, yeah. So I was just listening in right now, and I heard that they had another interception, which they mentioned, which I think, you know, just within the span of COVID, from what I can recall, I think that might be the third that they have reported on. So that would be something I could potentially just follow up and ask them a little bit further in detail, or, you know, if there has been any, if they're seeing some sort of increase with that, because I don't really recall. I mean, I was always in close communications, of course, with Anton, and prior, I don't recall reporting 3 interceptions within the span of like a month and a half. So that would be something I could, you know, follow up. And then I know that you guys had mentioned the asking him about the freedom of choice bill, which I think today when I cover the Mayor's Council of Guam, that might be something that they plan to discuss as well.
Right.
And I heard you asking him about that, and you know, we did a story on that yesterday as well.
What about Guam Police Department? What have you been tracking with the GPD? We're getting Sergeant Tapao on later. Is there anything of interest that you might want us to bring up with him that you've been following?
Well, I had mentioned to you, Chris, because I figured you were going to have him on, but just that there may have been some more school break-ins that we heard about. So I was wanting to ask him about it, but possibly at Antoine, that there may have been a few more within last week. And then, you know, even in the beginning of the pandemic, when schools started closing early, we saw a lot of break-ins happening. So just following up on that, if there's been an increase with that. And additionally, we know that there was a death investigation underway that just happened earlier this week. And I asked him for an update yesterday, but I didn't hear back from him yet. So that would be something else that we could ask him, see what's resulted from that.
Okay, we will. Adriana, just kind of looking forward, what are some of the things that you're working on for today that we can expect to see on the news either tonight or in the next couple days?
Well, so yesterday I kind of shifted gears a little bit more to some education that I could highlight on, but they had the very first grad and go ceremony.
Right.
So that was very interesting. I was almost semi-emotional a little bit there at the ceremony, because I was like, wow, it's still so beautiful. Everyone's so happy and cheerful, you know, despite the circumstances. And even talking to the students, you could see them smiling, even though they had masks on. So, and even the parents cheering from their cars. It was like nothing I ever thought I'd ever see before in my life. So it was beautiful to see and witness. But you know, the kids are pushing through, and all the students are, and they essentially kind of came up with this idea, right? Because GDOE, they were faced with the challenge, and they asked the students how they would want to hold the ceremony, and this is kind of what came to fruition. But they were thinking about even just doing a virtual, all online, but they made it possible. So there was 332 students yesterday with over at Okadu High School that graduated, the Bulldogs. So they were the very first, and there, as far as I know, through GDOE, there isn't a grad and go ceremony today, but tomorrow there will be. I believe it's later in the day, but so that'll be the next one, and that's at JFK.
Right. So we're playing the video here, Adriana. Wow, this is really cool.
It's nice.
I mean, these kids,
isn't it?
I mean, they were just so shook about you know, obviously not being able to have the ceremony. And I mean, although this isn't the ceremony they're used to, it definitely looks like it was more than good enough for the time.
Exactly. And, you know, like everyone's spirits were still high. That's why I was like, you know, they could have been all sad and mad and, you know, moping about it, but they were still just so excited, and they still are, they're just ready to get their future started, and they just can't wait for their next chapter of life. So I was like, wow, this is inspiring. You know, if these students are still, you know, happy, looking forward to every single day, and they're making the best out of it, I think everyone else can too. And then I also spoke with Catholic schools yesterday. So just determining, so they didn't close school early, right? They the Catholic private schools, they continued on with distance learning. And
you mean the parents continued on with distance learning?
Yeah, they did. So they did all the way until last week. I believe it was last week, where is what Dr. Juan Flores, the superintendent of Catholic schools, said that their school year just finished last week, and now they're starting to think about the fall, and they're kind of going through 3 options right now. They've narrowed it down to 3 options. So one would be either enhancing, and it all comes down to, of course, where we're at with coronavirus and if we're in peak core 3 or peak core 4 by the time. But he said one end of the spectrum is continuing distance learning throughout the year and enhancing the program. The other option is having all the way back to school and having in school, just making adjustments with social distancing and sanitization. But the option that they're looking at the most is a combination of the 2. So that means having classes down to like 10 to 15 kids, maybe doing it every other day or every other week, switching it in and out. So then half the students so like typically they said they have like 20 kids in a class. So then like 10 of those kids would stay home that day, work from home or work elsewhere in the building doing online coursework. And then the other 10 would be in this classroom doing coursework. And then the next day they switch, or the next week they switch. So that's the option that they're kind of looking at right now. But he mentioned that they're in close communications with GDOE and kind of following them because one, transportation, the bus schedule. So that's something they would also have to factor in and decide, because also following, social distancing guidelines with buses too. Yeah, I was like, that's something I hadn't even really thought about at all. I was like, oh yeah, buses, and so many people, they need the buses. They need the buses in order for transportation. So I was like, I even had asked Dr. Flores. I was like, yeah, I didn't even think like how would we even do everything with buses, like social distancing, making sure like everything's sanitized, and he was like, that's just another thing that we've been following. So
did Mr. Flores say anything about extending the school year, perhaps starting in July?
So I asked him about that because we know that there was a survey that went out to St. Anthony Catholic schools, and I think they had asked parents and maybe yourself, Bree, about it. asking about it, and I did ask him. He said that it was just a survey, and I said, have you received any confirmation on whether it would start in July and doing 11 months tuition payments? And he said that he has not received any confirmation of that happening.
Had he heard of any Catholic schools potentially closing as a result of COVID?
No. Okay. He did not. He told me he didn't hear of any, but he did say, because I had asked him, I was like, are there some parents that are just gonna, maybe even rely on homeschooling altogether or take their students out? And he said that some parents are gonna have trouble making ends meet with tuition and making the payments. So he has heard that some parents may be pulling their children out of private schools and public and Catholic schools because they just won't be able to afford it.
Right. Well, Adriana, that's why I wanted to bring you on, to kind of give you a chance to share with the audience some of the things that you've worked on and will be working on. So I definitely appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you when you get in.
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right. Bye, guys.
You hang up first. All right.
Okay. Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands. 8:18. Hey, we got to do news and stuff, and we got the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education, John Fernandez, coming up, so we'll take a little break. It's the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Good morning.
Banners, posters, stickers. Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier, so he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care, keep your family safe at home, and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Calling all graduating seniors. Join us by showing your class pride in the celebration caravan you deserve through the island's major thoroughfares. KUAM and its partners want to recognize your accomplishments and help celebrate this pivotal moment in your lives. To participate, email promotions@kuam.com and let's get this show on the road. Special thanks to ABC Stores Guam and The Dungeon.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union.
Pantai mantunat nyagi toru ilugar para honra para gloria abiba islasen para honra para gloria abiba islasen para Gitodui tempui paz para hita dan gini langit na bendition Contrai peligro na fansa fuham Dus protehis langwam Contrai peligro na fansa fuham Dus protehis langwam O gangwatu Gitrong kun mapagais Anauli sineni Antis dia dinguju Sasonga Antis dumaigu Nahagwai daju Haguneni Haguna palawan
Good morning, 828. Hey, good morning to our viewers on KUAM TV 11 and on the Edward R. Murrow award-winning social media networks of KUAM, our KUAM News Facebook Live feed. Good morning to you guys, and thank you so much. Real information, real time, and a little bit of Jason Solis too.
Just a little bit, because
you guys can't handle more than a smidgen.
No, that's all anybody would ever want. Trust me. Okay, we do have like a whole lot of love is coming in on the comments, and I just wanted to say this. I want to pop in because Elizabeth was saying I got up specifically just to join the chat room, and I think we've got the comment of the year so far. It's is it Joe? Being on this show on Containing COVID here is like being part of one big familia. And that is exactly why we put the show together. And we appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you, Jay.
Again, it's everybody working together. It's not just us in the studio. It's you guys in the comment stream. It's everybody jumping in. So, I mean, that's a wonderful comment. That's what it's all about.
Feel you. Thank you, Joe, so much for your kind words. And also, Elizabeth, thank you for waking up. First of all, every day is a blessing. We're glad you opened your eyes, and even more glad that you woke up just to join us here. So
thank you.
Good morning, Liz. As we always do in this hour, we'll start with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team with the very latest. Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, good morning.
Hafide, good morning, everyone. The number of COVID-19 cases on Guam has gone up. According to the Joint Information Center, out of 29 samples ran through the Department of Public Health's lab, 2 turned up positive. This brings the total number of COVID cases on Guam to 177, 5 deaths and 148 recoveries, and 24 active cases. Again, these are the results only for Public Health's lab. A full picture of how many tests were conducted total on Guam at various local labs will be released this afternoon in Public Health Situation Report, which is posted on their website. Expanded community testing throughout the island starts today at the Jigo Gym. Drive-through testing is from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. It is free and open to Jigo residents. You do not have to have symptoms to get tested. Just bring an ID. Tomorrow, Thursday, June 4th, walk-through testing will be held at the Gura Public Housing in Dededo from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Again, this is free, and you do not have to have symptoms to get tested. Public Health, in the meantime, has launched a symptoms monitoring service for COVID-19. The smartphone app will help monitor individuals identified as close contacts to confirmed COVID-19 cases and returning residents in 14-day home quarantine. COVID-19 exposed contacts will be able to log into the IMOCA app daily to report symptoms to Public Health, take their own temperatures, and record a short video. The app will also ensure Public Health teams review each submission and ability to answer questions or concerns through a two-way HIPAA secure chat. As part of the 14-day quarantine requirement, individuals must adhere to symptom monitoring put forth by the agency. The identified individuals on Guam to be enrolled using the smartphone app will be contacted directly by Public Health. Important news for Guam's fishermen as the Department of Agriculture announces there is $1 million in CARES Act funding available to the territory. The Division of Aquatic Wildlife Resources is currently working with the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration regarding the process for Guam fishers to receive the CARES Act funding. NOAA is developing the guidelines that will provide requirements for how the money will be distributed. Once the guidelines are developed, the money will be given to a fisheries commission that will oversee the dispersal of the money to individual fishers on Guam. The first step in this entire process is to have all Guam fishers register with the Department of Agriculture's Division of Aquatic and Wildlife Resources. Fishers can find the registration form on doag.guam.gov under Resources, then Forms. The registration form is also being distributed via WhatsApp through fishers chat groups. You can also find that registration form on our website. Hard copies of the forms are also available again in the DAR office. For those with digital access, the agency recommends downloading the free Adobe Acrobat app or something similar to fill out the form. Sign it digitally and then email the form to fisheries@doag.guam.gov. Department of Agriculture Director Chelsea Munoz-Brecht urges fishers to register. Quote, "Our goal is to have every Guam fisherman benefit from this program. In order to make that happen, we need to first establish how many fishers we have, both commercial and sustenance. For more information, you can call 735-0294. Again, that registration form is available on KUAM.com. In news from the CNMI Office of the Governor announced late last night that there is one more confirmed case of COVID-19 on Saipan. The individual is a 30-year-old female, asymptomatic, and has existing medical conditions. The press release states she was a recent passenger on the May 28, 2020 United Airlines flight from Guam and originated from the U.S. mainland. Fellow passengers on the flight are in quarantine and monitored by the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's medical team. The CNMI now has a total of 23 confirmed cases with 5 active cases, 16 recoveries, and 2 deaths. Back to news here at home. A superseding indictment charges retired University of Guam professor Thomas Marler with wire fraud and money laundering. Marler is accused for participating in a scheme to rig bids for numerous UOG federally funded projects from February 2012 until June 2015. According to court documents, 2 co-conspirators, United States Department of Agriculture employee John Hobart or Bart Lawrence and his daughter Janika Lawrence, are also facing federal charges for their part in the alleged scheme. Court documents further state Marler and Bart Lawrence agreed Janika would start a business called Sansar Consultant in order to receive work awarded by UOG. Marler was the principal investigator in charge of awarding projects. A hearing has been set for June 4th at 9 a.m. in District Court Magistrate Judge Michael Berdalio's courtroom. Dusit International has taken over the management of the Outrigger Guam Beach Resort effective June 1st. The hotel will be rebranded as the Dusit Beach Resort Guam. The expanded agreement with local owner Tonota Partners also includes management of the Plaza Shopping Center. The 604-room hotel, which opened in Guam 20 years ago, is currently under renovation, and according to a news release, will showcase an all-new contemporary look and feel. All current Outrigger employees will be retained, and Dusitani Guam Resort General Manager Dean Huntsman will oversee operations as Dusit International's Regional Vice President of Operations. Dusit is one of Thailand's leading hotel and property development companies. In national news, President Trump is signing an executive order addressing international religious freedom. This comes as people are criticizing the president for ordering protesters to be cleared out so he could take part in a photo opportunity at a church near the White House. Natalie Brand has more.
Protesters gathered outside St. John Paul II National Shrine ahead of President Trump's visit. It's his second trip to a house of worship in as many days.
I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
Inside the Rose Garden, the president said Monday he sides with demonstrators who remain peaceful. even as federal police used tear gas to clear away hundreds of peaceful protesters outside the White House shortly before President Trump walked over to St. John's Episcopal Church to stand for a picture with a Bible.
To make a symbolic gesture holding a Bible as if to spiritually condone a message and a posture that is antithetical to the teachings of Jesus.
White House sources tell CBS News the president's trip to the church was meant to be a show of strength. He's now threatening to use the U.S. military to end protests that have turned violent.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Democratic lawmakers say the president is abusing his power.
The administration is using the military as a tool to intimidate American citizens.
Speaking in Philadelphia this morning, presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden said the protesters have a right to speak out for those who have been left behind in America.
In addition to the Bible, the president might also want to open the U.S. Constitution once in a while. If he did, he'd find a thing called the First Amendment.
But he made clear that there is a difference between peaceful protesters and those who resort to violence. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Trump tweeted this morning that New York should call up the National Guard to protect New York City. In your Banking 671 report, when using electronic banking technology, it's important to be aware of the risks. Here's some tips to make sure you're ready for unanticipated situations. Sign up for your bank's online and mobile banking options. Set up an emergency fund. Make sure you have adequate insurance. Review the items in your safety deposit box and consider alternate storage options for anything you would need in the event of a branch closure. Sign up for direct deposit with your employer. Also, another reminder, if you are applying for the PUA program, GDOL is recommending that you sign up for direct deposit with your bank. And that is your Banking 671 report, sponsored by our friends at Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, Speed Trap, Jigo Jim. Okay, so we'll ask
Speed Trap?
Yeah.
They're doing the testing there too.
Well, there's
the
a comment here.
testing.
So maybe that's maybe you thought it was a speed trap, but it's really the testing. I don't know. Thank you though. 8:38. Let's go to the phones where we have the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education on the line, John Fernandez. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning.
I guess we'll just first start. You guys have just put out a release about
the federal funding got approval.
Oh, correct. So I think
plan?
as people might recall, a couple of weeks ago we had an announcement that $54 million was set aside for Guam as part of the CARES Act to support education, and $41.5 million going directly to the Guam Department of Education, and the other 12 going to the governor's office to also support education based on her priorities. So with regard to our part, I mean, we had to basically turn around an application and get the approval of USDOE in order to draw down those funds and make those funds available for use here on island. So we spent about a week reaching out to school administrators, our parents, students, our representatives of the private nonprofit schools, so our private schools and our charter schools as well. And after all that input, we were able to put an application together to identify the priorities for use of those funds and make sure that we got the approval of USM before they would allow us to get those funds and put those funds to use. So we got that word and we put that announcement out today just to share with the community that we're ready to roll. There'll be some responsibilities for both DOE and our private nonprofit schools to do some. There is going to be a short process for them to clarify how they plan to use the funds that have been approved for their particular schools. But once that's done, we expect a quick deployment of these funds for those purposes.
Mm-hmm. So how is GDOE going to use the funds? And out of that $41 million, how much is GDOE using?
Yeah, so quickly, I mean, it really is supposed to be, allotted by basically by enrollment. If you do the numbers, it's about $32 million for GDOE traditional public schools, and the remainder would be split between the private schools and the charter schools based on enrollment. But each of those numbers really represents a cap on the funds that can be used, just to ensure there's an equitable share between the different private public schools. If the schools need it and are able to use it, they definitely can use up to those amounts. But it'll really be depending on what they include as part of their request for those funds. So the three priorities, I think we've shared it before based on those ongoing discussions, but a large part of it's going to be going towards distance learning. So that includes, again, that definitely includes technology. It includes the ordering of equipment, including laptops, including the upgrading of classrooms to facilitate more use of technology, strengthening Wi-Fi capability in and around our schools. And then it also includes modified, learning opportunities such as written, hard copy materials as well that will be able to be used for those who don't have immediate access to the internet. Because all of these initiatives are going to take, more than a couple months to put in place. So we are looking at doing distance learning from both online, but also through hard copies for those students who don't have access, while we try to address, those gaps in the community. The second priority is, it's still a major priority, but it's not going to cost as much as distance learning. Will be for all the safety and health supplies that we need. So we plan to set aside a lot of those funds to be able to purchase the cleaning supplies, the face mask, the face shield, all those things that schools are requesting to make sure that the facilities are ready to go. And then the third area is going to be around mental health and socio-emotional support for students and employees as we return to the school year. So those are the three areas. We did go over, the funds and the proposed uses with the various stakeholders. But of course, I think overall everyone wants to make sure that we have safe facilities to return to, that we have the option for distance learning, given that we still have social distancing requirements, and that we also focus on the whole child, making sure that our kids and our employees, again, are okay and kind of readjusting after this period of trauma and crisis, readjusting to a normalized school year, however normal we can get.
What's the update and discussions GDOE has had with the governor's office on how they plan to spend their cut of this federal funding?
I won't speak for the governor in terms of her final proposal, but I can say that, we have been in touch with the lieutenant governor and as well as with the Guam Community College and UOG about the needs of our students in terms of online access. So, for the most part, I believe all of our institutions are working to shore up our facilities so that when you come to our facilities, you do have access. But our concern, of course, is that in the community, there are obviously going to be gaps in terms of, households connected to the internet. So if we're requiring our students to do work at home and actually have access to a computer and the internet, we want to do what we can to plug those gaps out in the villages. So we've had those conversations, and we'll see where those go. But part of that difficulty is really understanding what that gap looks like, and number two, what the various strategies are to addressing that. So that's an ongoing discussion. But we don't want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for really facilitating those conversations as they decide how they want to deploy that $12 million.
So is that what the direction the discussions are heading, where ADLOOP would pay more close attention to access to internet, whereas GDOE would put more focus on ensuring that students have the hardware?
Right. I mean, obviously there looks like there might be areas where there might be possible overlap, but it makes sense for us to focus on shoring up our facilities, the equipment that students have access to, and the platforms and the professional development for teachers to facilitate distance learning. But things that are outside of our expertise are the issues such as certain parts of the island or certain households or communities which may not be connected, and we're not sure is that whether that's an infrastructure problem or an issue of just affordability. So it is going to take a higher level look at those issues, and I think it is very appropriate for the governor's office to look at that as not just as an education solution, but probably a contributor to productivity across the island for, as we start to adjust to this new normal where we might want to do more things online than physically if these social distancing requirements remain in place.
Right.
Yeah. Did you want to ask anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I just I was doing a bunch of stuff over here, but where are we in terms of the new school year? Because parents are obviously.
So it is our goal to try to address a number of these decisions that need to be made by the end of June. So we have on the calendar just a bunch of meetings and outreach that we're scheduled to try to get the department as well as the board up to speed and in a position to make decisions about what happens when we're able to open. Okay, so I know yesterday we had this, this week we've been focusing on the central office, coming back and opening up all government agencies. We spent a lot of time walking through the facility, working with the divisions to make sure that the the safety parameters were understood and clear, and that they were able to follow through with those requirements, including face masks, including the 6-foot distancing, looking at whether and how to implement temperature scans and temperature screening, how to control access in and through the building. So it was very good to do that physical walkthrough and look at the different divisions and how they were handling their customers and their visitors, because a lot of that discussion will translate to what we do in the school facilities. So we spent a lot of time doing that. We met with school administrators on how that would translate to their facilities. But of course, the big challenge for the school administrators is looking at how to service students under the social distancing requirement, which means that in most cases, you're not going to be able to have your full enrollment at school at one time. So there are proposals being developed around staggered or alternate schedules, and that is going to be developed and shared, the options shared with, I believe we have later today at 4 p.m., and we'll be streaming this live on Facebook. We have a meeting with our island-wide PTO leadership. And so at 4 p.m., we'll be talking and sharing the options and getting input from our parents. We also, and as we develop that, I know that tomorrow we're going to be meeting with our, I believe with Dr. Mike Cruz to kind of run over some of the safety issues that we're going through. And then on Friday, we're going to meet with our private nonprofit schools to share what we're doing and to see if there are ways that we can coordinate across all of our schools to make sure we can help each other be ready for potential opening.
Wow.
So with that said, that's just a picture of what our week looks like. But there are 2 meetings that the board will have on June 12th and then on June 23rd. Those are the 2 opportunities that they will have then to make some of the policy changes that need to be put in place, regarding the school calendar, regarding what other changes need to be made. And then on June 23rd will be the last opportunity that we hope will result in final decisions, so that we want to spend July, and if it goes further than August and into August, be able to spend the rest of the time putting information out to the community, letting everybody know what those final decisions are, and explaining and assuring our public that we've made the necessary changes to assure safety, as well as the opportunity to continue teaching and learning.
What about discussions with the Department of Public Works and school buses and ensuring, social distancing is followed and that buses are sanitized? What kind of talks are you having with DPW?
So we've already had meetings with DPW on their bus situation, which of course, year after year, we heard the issues of not having as many buses or drivers as you would normally need. So it's not anything different this year, but now we're talking about the potential for alternate schedules. So we've had our initial discussions trying to understand what their safety protocols are, and we're going to work to see that we can have both of our agencies comfortable with those safety protocols. But a lot of that will also depend on the schedules that we're working to try to finalize. So they are in the conversation. Once we get the schedules, roughly, rough enough to propose, we'll see if their bus situation can accommodate those schedules, and then we'll move to finalize that and make sure all those plans are in place. So they are part of our discussions.
Okay. But I mean, in terms of like making sure it just seems like it's a lot of planning and making sure that the buses are sanitized.
I mean, not just that, with the distancing. I mean, the buses are always full by the time they get to the school. So,
and I know we've seen some of these buses that have been used for quarantine.
Right. So no, absolutely. I mean, we're not taking any of the safety issues lightly at all. What we wanted to know was what their plan was. What I assume is going to happen is after we nail down the schedules and we understand how frequently they're going to run back and forth, and how many students are going to be on those buses. We'll work through the protocols to see what we can do to improve and support, DPW in ensuring that the buses are safe and able to meet those safety requirements, not just from our health agencies, but our parents. Our parents have safety requirements, so it's very important that we provide that assurance to our parents that we've got everything covered and we're looking at all issues.
Has DPW indicated that their buses were still going to be used for shuttling quarantine passengers, or will that cease when school opens, or if it reopens?
I don't think we've had that specific discussion, but that's a good idea. I mean, we ought to confirm that. Because I think the one thing we have been operating under is that once we go into PCOR 3, you are talking about a health situation that justifies and allows for the opening of schools, which really should be at the tail end of your sort of pandemic recovery situation. So we're hoping again and requiring for our purposes that buses and school nurses, all of our folks who have been reporting to the front lines, that they'll be back in schools to definitely handle their day-to-day responsibilities. But of course, going forward, I think one of the discussion is what is the contingency plan should there be a second surge or spike somewhere in the middle of the school year? And those are the questions that we have not yet worked out, but we need to work out this summer. So are our nurses, for instance, going to be on call in some fashion, and what does that mean for support of the school site? So we'll kind of work through that, but I assume the same thing will happen with the buses in case those buses are needed. So again, that's something that still needs to be done over the summer.
Right. And as you guys prepare to reopen and you come up with your plans for cleanliness and sanitization and disinfecting and all of that, what about repairs for schools? I mean, we still have the situation, for example, at Simon Sanchez High School. Where are we with the home of the Sharks?
So just in general with all schools. So just effective, this week we've been, being able to bring our employees back to the buildings and have them report. And so for the schools, we're still working through and ensuring that they are able to operate, but we don't anticipate any obstacle for them to continue with administrative and basically facility preparation work. So that will involve working with the custodial services to clean the facilities over the summer. That we should be able to do maintenance work and still maintain the safety parameters because the school facilities will just have the employees there, and there won't be any students. Of course, the issue with Simon Sanchez is that we did have a bit of a slowdown when we went into shutdown, but we have, we're at the stage of finalizing negotiations on a design contract, and those conversations have picked up. So we hope to complete and finalize that conversation, and hopefully be able to get that into a contract form, hopefully this month, and that'll allow the design work to start on Simon Sanchez. So that would only be, that doesn't speak to its immediate, maintenance needs, but over the summer, what we've told our administrators and our teams, our divisions, is that, it's the same drill this summer. We all go through the school readiness drill, making sure we take care of all the health and safety issues at the schools, making sure we get all the teachers hired and all the schedules worked out and so forth. So that all those processes are in place and ongoing. But now we have a different level of school readiness that we have to add on top of that. So, it's the same old work that we normally do, plus the added COVID-19 modifications. So how we clean the schools, how we schedule the students, Will we have enough teachers as we open up the job application to receive applicants? All those things are going to be worked out as part of our school readiness processes, this month and beyond.
Well, I kind of want to end on something positive here. There's a pretty cool grad and go ceremony you guys had at Ukadu yesterday, John.
Oh no, it's bittersweet. I think we watched the graduations. We know that normally we're up there. We're seeing the excitement from all of the graduates and their families and so forth, and it's just not possible to do it this year. So we're glad that we were able to allow enough time for all the schools to plan an alternate ceremony. Of course, with Ukadu going first amongst the GDOE schools, they are the ones breaking new ground. So it was good to see how they did it. They were really successful. It was a nice ceremony to watch, and I'm glad our kids are resilient and still managed to have a good day in light of the different circumstances. So that was the first of 7 different GDOE ceremonies, and we look forward to the rest. And we really want to congratulate our class of 2020, not just on graduating, but showing that they're not going to let a virus stop them from finding solutions to the obstacles in front of them. And that's what life's about. So we're really glad to see the leadership at the school level, at the student level, in not just pouting and saying what a terrible situation, but making the best of it. And I think that will serve them well, going into their next chapters of their lives.
Right. Congratulations, really, to the class of 2020 and
Viva class of 2020!
And putting this together. Yeah. But I hate to bring this back down.
Sorry,
to,
John. I was trying to end on a good note, but Sabrina was like, no, there's something else. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because Adriana Cotero was on here earlier, and she was mentioning that she had received word information, and we wanted to just make sure we got clarification for you and confirmation whether or not there's been any recent school break-ins.
Yeah, well, we have had a round of different break-ins at different schools. And we've been working with the police as well. So it was kind of it was kind of touch and go there with the shutdown and kind of an entire lockdown of the community, because we weren't even though we wanted our school staff and administrators to keep an eye on the schools, at the same time we're trying to support the overall message of stay home. So over this shutdown period, where everyone was encouraged and required to stay home, we did see mischief at the school level, and in terms of break-ins and just what things that happen when the school facilities are left vacant and unattended for an extended period of time. Things that we see during the breaks, the 2-week Christmas break. Over the summer, we usually have people, our staff around the school, so it's less of an issue. But these last couple of months have been really trying for some of the schools who are victims. It looks like mostly students. Looks like student mischief. In fact, one of the break-ins was really interesting. They broke in, smashed the glass, and then put everything into the trash can before they went and looked for whatever they were looking for. So it's kind of interesting to say, wow, these are not as bad of vandals as we would normally.
Very
expect.
Considerate vandals.
That's
very thoughtful of you guys.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we did have a situation at GW where, that it turned into more of an arson situation. But I am happy to know, and you've seen in the news as well, that GPD has been active, trying to swing by the schools more often, but also pursuing the leads that they're getting in terms of the people involved. Unfortunately, some of them are minors as well. So Chief Ignacio does keep me informed to let me know what they have and what they found. And unfortunately, during times like this, it's really important that kids be supervised in terms of staying home. But if they're not, and the whole island is kind of shut down, then what you're seeing is, maybe a group of guys walking around up to no good, making the wrong decisions, and this happens. So I'm glad that we're a little bit more in an open position. I'm worried about safety, but I'm encouraged that we at least are able to get our staff out at the schools to keep a closer eye on what's going on around our facilities.
So any break-ins in the past 2 weeks?
Definitely. I know that Antolon Middle School had a couple break-ins over a couple of days. So all of our teams are, all of our administrative teams are on alert. But I think now that we're kind of back to opening and we can have more, staff at the schools, we hope to see, that go down.
Mm-hmm. Did they steal anything, or they just went in there and wreaked havoc?
In that particular situation, it looked like they were looking for something in particular. So yes, there was some, you could tell they had ruffled through things, looking for things, but that's where the glass was cracked and set aside. And, I think it looked, in that particular case, looked like they were looking for something in particular, maybe some contraband that had been confiscated and they wanted to be returned. At GW was a little bit different. So, that was just more about, mischief, seeing what was in the rooms, vandalizing, and then I guess someone thought it was a good idea to see what happens if they lit something on fire, and that just, created more damage than I hope that they expected. And I hope they didn't intend to really wreak that much damage, because that's really dangerous. But at the same time, again, we just want to make sure that we keep an eye and see to address this. So the cops did find the individuals involved, and so it looked like they had been wandering around, not just Manila but other villages. So hopefully that'll mean that less mischief is out there being done.
Okay.
All right, John. Thank you, man, so much for your time.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Wash your hands.
Same to you.
Okay. John Fernandez, always good to get him on. Yeah.
And some good news that their plan was approved by the feds on that $42 million in federal grant money.
The federal. Hey, shout out to Istanbul Middle School for their promotional drive and go this morning. Congratulations. That's coming from Auntie Daisy and all of us here at KUAM. We're going to start to see more of these.
Mm-hmm. And we do have online on our KUAM Communications, where we do highlight the class of 2020 if you want to submit your pictures. And we also, Jace, did you want to mention?
Yeah, I was also going to say, if you check the GDOE on Twitter, or also, the governor retweeted John's retweet, which is retweeted by GDOE. So figure that, it's a wonderful chain of love, basically.
Yeah.
But if you want to see exactly when your favorite school, if you've got a family member or a relative, and they're going to be doing their grad and go, most of them are being live streamed. They've got the entire schedule and everything like that. We're going to share as many of them as possible. We're actually, as Adriana did yesterday, we're going out and we're getting video of our own, and we're trying to get testimonials and everything. But if you want to see that and you want to share that with your friends, then the schedule is up on Twitter. So check out, is J Fernandez 16 or J Fernandez 19.
Right, and we'll go ahead and post that also on our social media. But I believe the next grad and go graduation is tomorrow for JFK.
Yeah. And the infographic is, we were going to share it on this, but it's so big because there's so many schools and there's so many things going on. We wouldn't be able to fit it on the screen. And that just shows you how much planning and how many kids and parents and PTOs and administrators really want this to happen.
We can sort that out for you and put it online. Yeah. Also, don't forget that we also do feature the class of 2020. That's Monday, Wednesday,
and class of 2020
Fridays on prime time. So make sure to check that out.
Just like doing that to throw you off every once in a while. Viva class of 2020! Hey, when in doubt, Viva it out. So we got the high school schedule, but obviously we're seeing the middle schools. I know that they're doing a kindergarten one up on a Saturday at DL Perez. I only know because my two little ones called me like, we're doing a promotion.
Aww.
Yeah, so that's the plan for Saturday morning. Hey, 9:04, we'll take a break, and we're talking about break-ins and crime with the Public Information Officer for the Guam Police Department, Sergeant Paul Tapao. That's next on Containing COVID. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 Virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Good morning. Hey, good morning. Good morning on you guys. Thank you so much for your support in containing COVID. watching, sharing, liking the multimedia broadcast extravaganza that gives you real information in real time. 9/11, big day for our friends at the Salvation Army, and really as Major Tom winds out his last month on the island, really want to commend the great work that they've done. It was a quick response. They figured out how to give the aid that our people needed, especially a lot of and I always go back to a few weeks ago when Major Tom was talking about who was getting aid from the Salvation Army. He said, Chris, middle class supports the Salvation Army, and now it's the middle class that's coming and needing the assistance and the aid. So, and they figured out how to give it out in a way, I felt the most productive way as they could in light of all the social distancing and the COVID-19 safety measures. And so today, reopening the thrift store, right, Major Tom? Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
So I saw you had a video on your Facebook, the Salvation Army thrift store. Is it open right now, Major?
We opened the doors at 10.
10 a.m.,
today.
so right on. So we wanted to get you on before that to kind of talk about it. Let's just start from zero. How much prep went into getting ready for this opening at 10 a.m.?
Well, we had to, bring our staff back last week to get the store ready and prepped, to sort through some things that needed to be discarded and that kind of thing. And now we have the store ready. We had to get placards and posters up, like every business has had to do for social distancing and retail outlets like ours, to be in compliance with the ordinance and the CDC guidances. And so we're asking shoppers when they come, like every place, wear your mask. We can only allow 10 in the store at any given time, to give people space to shop and get in and get out, which may create some lines, but we just ask for patience, as we've all had to stand in line at Payless or various places to get in the store. But we, are excited about the prospect of being open again. The thrift store is a vital program for not only our customers and the items that they're able to get at discount prices, but also funding for the food bank, the LRC, Lighthouse Recovery Center, our family program. So the thrift store is a really good, financial help to us. Where grants stop, it gives us the cash we need to help others. So your support of the thrift store is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I mean, it's not only a boon for you guys in that you obviously generate revenue here that goes right back to helping people, but it's also a blessing for the people who can't afford to be going to the mall or whatever.
Yeah, and we have pretty good items. I mean, the donations are great that we get from people. They're very good to us, and we have good designer stuff in the store. So,
like what? What do you got?
Well, we have Levi jeans, and we've got dresses and household items that can help everyone fit in a budget, right, especially nowadays. To help people, we have so there's just a variety of items. But as for donations, Chris, we had to change some of our policies because of COVID. When we receive donations, we are not allowed to sort and put them on the floor. We have to let it sit for 72 hours after receiving those donations.
Wow.
And we have to disinfect them and that kind of thing before. And it's a good thing to keep our staff safe and also the customers buying the end product. When we start accepting donations, hopefully by the end of this month, we can only do it a couple of days a week because we have to store it in our facility and can't really touch it. So we just have to keep everybody safe. And I know that might cause some frustration for people who want to donate items to Salvation Army, but if we understand to keep everybody safe, I think we can come to a good understanding of what that's about.
Is there anything in particular that you guys are in need of when it comes to the donations?
Right now, we have a pretty good supply of clothes and housewares. We have toys. We have we get a good variety of all kinds of things. Right now, I think the store is stocked with just about everything we need. to get the store running again, start generating income for the programs and also the items needed for people that are looking for a good deal. And thrifting is a big deal now, so we want people to enjoy their experience when they come to the store, even though it's limited in terms of how many people could be in the store at any time.
You know, I wanted to go back to that 2 days setting aside. Is it you get the donation, you disinfect it and set it aside for 2 days, or you get the donation, set it aside, and then disinfect?
Yeah, we receive the donation and we disinfect it first, and it sits. And of course in the back of the store it gets warm, so they say hot weather is good for it, for COVID, but we can't, and then we can, after 3 days, begin to process it and put it on the floor. For household items and knickknacks and cups and that kind of stuff, we will use we will use Lysol wipes and those kind of things to wipe down the items before they put on the floor, just to keep any preventative measures we can for donated items. And so we're also asking our customers, if you do buy clothes from the Salvation Army thrift store, to please wash them before you wear them. I know that most people will, but just as a general precaution.
Right.
Okay, and we do have people that want to make donations. Are you still working out that schedule on when they can drop them off?
Yes, we'll probably most likely by the end of, before we leave Guam and maybe early July, we should be able to have that worked out. What days of the week and what times people can drop things off to us.
Okay. And where are we? I know that people are starting to get their stimulus checks. The local Programa ni Salapi, Idzudani, Tapao checks as well. Where are we with? Are we seeing a slowdown of people coming in seeking assistance from the Salvation Army?
Well, we've seen a little bit of a decrease in numbers of requests or people not making their appointments that they had scheduled. So that might mean that people are finding they're maybe going back to work, or perhaps their circumstances is improving some, so they're not needing the service. So we're hoping that's the case. And of course, with GDOE and giving out, grabbing their USDA commodities has also helped, because we of course have requirements for people to come, and whereas GDOE, you don't have to have requirements to go get food. So so I think those are good opportunities for people to get food. So.
We had a comment, Bree, about the commodities. That's been on hold. It's on hold for this week.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And Sarge, or Major, when you said so too many ranks.
Major.
When you talked about the requirements, you mean that for Salvation Army you got to make an appointment because of the social distancing, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to continue that, and even when we go back, we're actually talking about reopening the client choice portion of the food bank, where people actually come in and do the walk around and shop for what they want versus us pre-making the bags.
Right.
So we're hoping this month to have that there as well, but it'll be appointment based.
Right on. Always good to hear from you, Major.
Thank you. It's always good to hear from you guys, and thanks for all you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Agama, so you're winding down here again. You're leaving at the end of the month, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, right. I gotta send a little calendar. Well, we talk all the time, so definitely want to get you on before you leave, and I'm pretty sure that won't be a problem, right?
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, Major. Wash your hands.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye. Major Tom. Well, I called him Sarge because I was thinking about the Sergeant Paul Tapao of the Guam Police Department. Good morning, Sarge.
Hey, Hafide. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
I
guess maybe we'll just first start with, we had the superintendent on, and he was talking about school break-ins.
We're still having issues with the knuckleheads, I see.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned that, because we just, our detectives that are assigned to the curfew operations, and of course our juvenile investigators, we just closed the GW break-ins that I think started since the COVID and the break of COVID, and we tracked it for a 2-month span from April or March towards April. So we were able to bring some the individuals that were responsible for that in, and I believe some of them, the minors were actually charged as adults, to include a few adults that have been arrested. But he's correct. We're seeing an uptick in reports of school break-ins that are being reported. As school officials are reporting to their work sites, they're discovering that some of the classrooms have been tampered with or may have been broken into. But nonetheless, we're tracking that. We're moving forward and beefing up more, omnipresence within the community by putting more officers out on the beat, and of course with the added curfew operation task force, they've been actually out and about. So once we get more information about some of the school break-ins, we'll move forward with that. But with our detectives closing the GW case, I think that's really a big case because it included an arson and it included a slew of damages that exceeded over one classroom exceeded over $30,000, and this is just an estimate coming from our officers. So these guys are being charged for crimes against the community, and we want to prevent that, and we want to send a message out that when we put a finger and identify who are responsible, we're going to charge you with crimes against the community, and hopefully bring some restitution to the victims, which are the students and of course the community abroad.
Mm-hmm. Where are we with the death investigation that was launched?
We're still doing our the legwork of that case. With the discovery of the male individual, I believe over the weekend, moving into the weekday, our detectives have been working and really just trying to piece the pieces together, put everything together relative to this case. So we want to still protect the integrity of this case. So I met with them, or I made contact with our detectives just to get a brief as to where they are, and there's some interviews that they've been conducting, and just canvassing the area. So that's the legwork of this investigation. So picking up from where the discovery of the male, and of course finding out who's the last person in contact. These are some of the things that our detectives need to insert into the investigation.
Is foul play suspected, Sarge?
We don't know just yet. So again, I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. So once everything, picture is painted in this, and we find and we actually can provide answers, we'll move forward. The autopsy report, we're still waiting for that, and the autopsy to be performed. So there's some things that will lead us into showing the cause of death and of course the manner of death, and we can move in accordance with this case.
Do we know if the man is a resident of the area or homeless?
We're still tracking that. So like I said, these are the legworks that the investigators need to perform as part of piecing everything together.
Right. What about this Talafofo incident, Sarge? We're going to pop up. The video went viral.
Yes.
It kind of looked like a domestic situation. I'm not really sure. Watching the video, I got a headache because I don't. And then there was the picture that went out, and this was the same truck in the video with a ton of guns, a bunch of rifles, a couple handguns. Can you tell us anything about maybe the response to this call and anything at all?
So pretty much what was released by the Guam Police Department, and I also believe to the magistrate reports. It was a disturbance that happened at a home in Talafofo. That involved the arrestee, Mr. Perez, and of course his significant half, his girlfriend at the time, I believe. And it was just really that's just pretty much domestic violence that it's caught on camera and everything. And we usually classify domestic violence as a crime within confined and closed doors, and it just so happened that somebody near a bystander was able to capture this, and seeing what was depicted in the video was pretty much what was presented to our investigators or our officers who responded. We did afford medical care. Being a crash investigator, that is high impact, and there's bound to be injuries. So.
Right. That was Sarge. You know what I thought? I mean, so basically, what we saw in the video was the guy backed up and was like going into the car with the girlfriend and I believe a teenager and ramming it. I mean, how many was there? Like 3 or 4
rams?
Multiple times,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
And I think the court documents had stated 4 times. So.
Yeah. And so I saw that you guys had charged him with some pretty serious things that the AG didn't. Put in the Maggies, right?
Right. He was arrested, and then they charged only with the.
Yeah, it's the charges that the AG saw fit that that constitutes with the crime and everything. Aggravated assault and assault with a motor vehicle is pretty much the same in one in definition. So I mean.
No attempted murder. I didn't see.
Right. Yeah. So you guys
we put that our officers felt that the intent and everything and at the time was really. It's that gray line, and we sort of say with the judiciary side and everything. So, we work closely with our prosecutors. It's hand in hand. We put the pen to paper with the report, and of course they present it to the courts. And this is the rights to due process, and it really is the rights to due process. So our partners with the prosecutors they saw fit that attempted murder will be. Suffice with the crime that was committed, but
right. I mean, Sarge, in looking at this, and obviously the arresting officers with the attempted murder charge, this could have went all kinds of worse, right?
It could have went south. I mean, it's the what ifs and everything that comes into play, but it's really the facts that happen and the facts that occur that we as the Guam Police, as a reporting agency, and I want to stress that we are the reporting agency. 90% of police work is really putting pen to paper and just reporting crimes and, bringing forth the charges. And it's really working closely with the AGs and getting the prosecution. So, and getting that conviction every time we make an arrest. And we stress that to all our officers, in the ranks. The ultimate goal of making an arrest is getting that conviction. So, when
it's frustrating, though, because we've seen this from the AG, especially during the COVID. We had the story that... remember the guys who were up there in Dedido and they threw the hollow block through the window and they had threatened to kill the victim, and then the AG turned around and released them from jail. So it's very frustrating when you guys do your job and you do it in a way that, I mean, you guys know what you're doing, and especially in this case where you have, the guy got in the car and was ramming the vehicle with the family and you're right, they could have died, it could have been way worse, and obviously it was premeditated. So I'm not a lawyer, and of course when we had the AG on here,
I remember that
the vibe was that, you guys aren't lawyers so you don't understand, but I still think that
you didn't see the police report.
We live in a free world where we're allowed to say our opinion out. So I just want to say I'm annoyed that you guys continually to go out here risking everything that you do, and you make the arrest, you make the bust, and then when it gets over to the AG's office, it's like, well, now we're going to charge him with that, and we're going to release him, and it's just, to me, it's not. I know you guys are saying you're working hand in hand, but
it's that relationship that we still have with the AGs and the prosecuting side. It's really the optics of the community, and of course. Being in the front line and working closely with them, it's really it's providing the safety first of the victims. That's the whole judiciary side. It's really giving that safety, making sure that the victim gets their justice and everything, and of course, again, it's really gaining that conviction. Mm-hmm. Any arrest that we make, we want to make sure that we can get the conviction. That's the ultimate goal as a police officer. And in order for us to garner that conviction, we have to make sure that, we dot our I's, cross our T's, and put the charges in which we lay forth for an arrest.
Right. So are you saying that you guys didn't dot your I's and cross your T's when he was arrested? And this is what came out in the release. He was arrested for attempted murder, aggravated assault, family violence, child abuse, reckless conduct, burglary, possession of a firearm without a valid firearms ID, reckless driving, no driver's license, possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. What he was charged with in the magistrate's complaint was aggravated assault as a third-degree felony, family violence, possession of a firearm without a firearms ID. I don't see.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, last time we had the
drug
AG
charge
on,
here,
he threw you guys under the bus, and he was like, "Yeah, the cops messed up the report."
Or the burglary.
No, it's there's a lot of stuff that's going to come into play, and again, there's the procedures again where we lay the charges out, and it's really the prosecution side that this is justifiable, and everything, and maybe we can bring it down and we can move forward with an aggravated, so we paint the picture, and of course they come in and it's really dissecting.
You guys paint the picture, and they come in and erase it.
You didn't really have to paint much of a picture. Wasn't there a video?
I know. I'm just saying, if I'm a lawyer, and I'm not, if I'm a prosecutor, I mean, how hard is it? You watch any lawyer show, they're in there with the video, and they're like, see what he did here? He was trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other charges that aren't even included. It is what it is.
It's really moving forward. There's going to be, he's going to have his day in court. It's going to be the facts, the findings, the evidence, the viral video will be presented in court and everything. And it's really the duty of both, the arresting officer, the agency, the reporting agency, and of course the prosecution, and working closely together in garnering that conviction. So once we move forward and he gets his day in court, and the goal again is really to provide the safety and to prevent this. If this is a family violence incident, maybe we need that time. Maybe both the victim and the suspect need a time of separation. Maybe they need that the protective order to assure their safety. Maybe we need to and moving forward, if once we have this presented in court and the judge sees fit and it's tried by the jury, we get a conviction. That's where we can provide the assurance of the community that we are doing our job in both the Guam Police Department side and of course the AG side in gaining that conviction. And that's where we strive in working in our relationship closely with the AG's office.
All right, so let's just charge them based on what we can prove, video or no video.
It almost seems like it's the easy way out, right?
Well, when it presents itself in court, again,
I know, Sarge, you're being so classy right now. I have a feeling like I know what you really want to say, because I've talked to the cops who, arrest people and then they throw the book at them, rightfully so, because we're trying to send a message out here. And then it's like they get charged with jaywalking is a 4th-degree misdemeanor. Credit for time served. Wait, this guy tried to ram his car and to kill people. He had like 28 guns. He had a whole armory with no... All right, Sarge.
We'll move forward with that.
Yeah, move forward. Right on.
Before we let you go, I did want to ask about, we had a peaceful demonstration on Monday or Tuesday it was, and then there's another one coming up on Friday. There's actually two, one at the ITC intersection and the other one at Chief Kapua Loop. And we spoke with one of the organizers, Nola, yesterday, and she was telling us that she was going to be meeting with the Guam Police Department yesterday. Can you tell us about what happened and maybe if we're going to see GPD involved?
We've yet to... This is Ms. Nola Hicks,
yes,
the coordinator of the demonstration. No, according to we haven't had any communications with them. So we did see I saw some pictures that were circulating to social media of the protest, and I want to commend the people that organized that. It was really peaceful, and that was a really well organized event. But as for meeting with the Guam Police Department and of course the Ms. Nola Hicks, we've yet to make any contact or any form of communication was made to the Guam Police Department regarding this. But
I don't think even really a meeting needs to be held. I think if GPD wants to make a statement, they're more than free to act on their own.
We've done kind of waves and unity waves. One was really the one when we actually partnered with our community partners with Maniatlo 4-H, and if you guys remember the machete incident at the University of Guam. Yeah. It was a real bashing in our FSM families and everything, and it was really something in which we needed to, make a stand and, send a message that, the actions of one certain individual, it's not a reflection of an entire community. Right. So when we organized that peaceful wave, or the wave, unity wave, it was in the midst of all the town hall meetings that they had within the various communities about.
God, that seems like so long ago, Sarge.
Yeah, that was last year. That was actually last year, right before 4th of July, the 4th of July weekend. Yeah. So we had over 500, FSM families standing there along Route 1, and right after that, we went in and we had the town hall meeting, and we really stood in solidarity with our FSM communities, and that was one aspect in which the Guam Police Department, and of course with all the other initiatives, but.
So you don't know if you guys are going to be standing in solidarity with the peaceful demonstrators who are going to be showing their support for Black Lives Matter on Friday.
We would like to, I guess it should start with the first dialogue and communication. Okay. If she said that she's going to reach out to the Guam Police Department, the Chief's office is more than willing to sit down and have start from there to see where they're going. And I do want to commend the efforts that they put out. It was really peaceful and it was really well coordinated, and we appreciate that from this standpoint of where we are here in this island, right, and what's happening abroad in the United States, and it's really it's something, and
I gotta say, Sarge, I'm glad that we don't see the kind of stuff that we see in the States from the law enforcement here on Guam. I mean, I know we've had our share of bumps in the roads, but by and large, I don't recall anybody putting their knee to someone's neck. You know what I mean? So
I've seen never mind.
We've worked at really diversifying our police department.
Hey, that was an open palm strike. Okay.
We have members with the LBG community. We have members from various different ethnicity within the ranks, and it's really the training that we've had. Just the different types of it's really the thing that somebody asked me what's different from here compared to back there is that we have culture, and I think culture plays a very significant role because there's an understanding, and there's always that line of respect when you have culture. So being from a Pacific Island and the heritage that we have as Pacific Islanders, I think the culture that we have as both Pacific Islanders is really the line of respect. So,
Viva the culture!
Right. Yeah, you got to perpetuate the culture. So,
Amen.
That's one of the things that we have that separates us from the abroad and our stateside counterparts. But
being perpetuators keeps you from being perpetrators. Right. Sarge, we gotta run. But thank you, man, for your time, and thank you for hanging in there with all those tough questions about the charges on this case. And
I appreciate it, and just on one note, again, I know the superintendent has spoken about the school break-ins, and we've reached out to our area commanders with the neighborhood watch program. I know because of the pandemic and what's going on, we're going to be working at strengthening our neighborhood watch groups with more information about how they can safeguard our community assets such as the school. So we're going to continue to work towards that. So that's where we're going to be moving forward to work with the summertime of the operations. So take care. God bless everybody. Stay safe.
Algomas. Thank you, Sarge. Wash your hands.
I will.
Okay. All right. 9:39. Hey, let's bring Nessa Lecanto in. As we also heard from Adriana earlier. So, Nessa, you got a new episode of In Full Zoom?
Yeah. Thanks, Bree and Chris, for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about In Full Zoom. As you know, it's all about getting some local businesses in here to talk about how the COVID has impacted their business and how they plan to recover as a result of this gradual reopening of the economy, and what they're looking forward to, what their business in particular and what their industry in general faces as they try to get back to where we were and figure out maybe what the new normal is going to be. Mm-hmm. So we've had previously theme shows, like we had the bankers on, we had the telecom, and sometimes what we do is we bring in just disparate companies, which we did this time. The show is on right now on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook at about 11 a.m. and 6:30 on our newscast. And so we have our guest for this segment is Chris Felix. He's a realtor, long-time realtor on Guam for Century 21, and his primary business is property management. And the issue that we spoke on was, the whole idea of deferrals of rentals, because a lot of people are hurting, not able to afford their rent. But, there's always two sides to that equation, because for the landlords, the owners of the property, that's also their source of income. So he talked a little bit about that. We also had Lenny Farron, a chef and restaurateur, owns a lot of very popular restaurants. But he did mention that because of the COVID, and I think you guys have both been to Kitchen Lingo, it's a small, intimate place, but because of the social distancing restrictions, he said he might have to close down Kitchen Lingo in its current, and because it doesn't make sense for him to be able to only utilize 50% of that already very small, intimate place. So that's what he talked
Hopefully
about.
they reopen it at like the UOG Fieldhouse or something.
Yeah, excellent food, of course.
Man, I was looking forward to that. I was thinking, man, I want to eat a Kitchen Lingo this year after the COVID.
Yeah. And then we also had Topher Barreto, a fitness enthusiast who is splitting his time right now between Guam and Hong Kong.
Right.
He operates a CrossFit gym here with his brother Caleb. And so he mentioned that he had been talking with the governor's advisory team or panel about how to reopen fitness gyms and Pilates
yoga
studios
dance,
and whatever.
CrossFit. Don't forget dance, guys.
Yeah, dance. So what he had recommended and what they're doing at apparently at their gym or CrossFit gym is they mapped out a 10 by 10 foot space, I think. And so you bring in all your equipment and you work with a personal trainer. You do not leave that 10 by 10. When you're done with the training session, you clean all your equipment, you mask up, and then you leave, and then the next class comes in. So that's how they were able to manage the social distancing thing. But because he's in Hong Kong, I was also very interested in his perspective on, because of what's happening in Hong Kong right now. Beijing is really clamping down, and he talked a little bit about
COVID isn't even the biggest problem in Hong Kong right now.
Yeah, I mean they've been having problems for months now with Beijing trying to impose its will on.
I actually was in Hong Kong when a lot of this was first starting, and so just narrowly missed a bunch of protests that were happening. So yeah, and this is still ongoing, and it's a real concern, obviously, there in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so they have a sports drink distribution and wholesale business over there. So it was interesting to hear what his take was on business currently and business going forward.
Right. It's a cool show, Ness, because you're able to speak kind of off the cuff and maybe more candidly than you would in like a normal news conversation.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity because we got a little bit more time, as you know. Kind of the news format, the report format is about you got 2 minutes to tell your story, which isn't a long time, right? So it's a great time, and they're able to speak more candidly. I think if they've got other businesses who are going through the same situation with them. So
and I like it because the show, it's something that it's not just limited to one type of business. It's open to everybody, and everybody gets to speak, and different industries, you get to hear from them. And this is going to take a long while till Guam really bounces back.
And I think one of the things that they've said, it's comforting to know that it's this whole idea of a shared sacrifice or shared situation. So they're hearing from other businesses about how they're coping, so they don't feel like, hey, they're alone. They're not the only ones that are going through this stuff.
The episode you did with Ken Cook of Bank of Guam and Phil Flores of Bank Pacific was interesting. And ANZ, because normally you wouldn't necessarily see these competitors, sitting in the same. Well, they weren't sitting together, but in the same platform. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and in fact, they mentioned that they're fierce competitors because that's the nature of business, right? But there are some commonalities, right, in dealing with what is an unprecedented situation.
And you're the guy to bring those different people together. So I think that's really cool. Hey, can we get a session update maybe while you're here?
Session update. They're going back in about, what time is it? About 15 minutes supposedly. That's their schedule. And they left off talking about Senator Pito Terlahi's bill that would allow for choice, increase the number of government health insurance contracts from one contractor to two. But there's, I believe, going to be a bunch of different, I'm not sure, but I've heard that there's possibly going to be some amendments to the bill, and so we'll see how it ends up and how it ends up as before they vote for it.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go again, Nestor Lecanto. We got a comment here from Liz. It's really great to have Nestor back again. He is the Walter Cronkite of Guam.
Oh man, I think there must be a reference to my age. Thank you though.
Yeah, you and Walter Cronkite are about the same age, right?
Yeah, I'm alive, but he's. Hey,
all right.
Thank
all right,
you.
thanks guys.
See you on the back nine.
All right.
Check out again In Full Zoom. That's going to be going up on our Facebook page. Also, it's going to be on TV, KUAM TV8, immediately following our primetime newscast at 6:30 p.m. It's a great show. Who did he say he was having on today? Topher Barreto?
Yep. Chris Felix?
Yeah.
Lenny Fern.
Yeah, from Pika.
Yeah.
And that's going to be sad. Oh, gosh, Kitchen Lingo, the possibility that it might shut down. I want to say, though, that they're on the Grab and Grub app, I thought.
I want to say that we should arrange something with, Chef Lingo or Lenny, to bring them in here, but only if they bring food. And we set some parameters. I'm going to work on that, Bree, with your blessing.
All right. Yeah,
Okay.
go for it. Go for it. They're Brussels sprouts. Oh,
right.
man.
The
That's
hamachi
so good.
collar.
Oh,
Awesome. Hey, 9:47. So we got a request here to play this Department of Labor tutorial. We're going to do this. It's about 4 minutes or so. And again, the process to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance. Long, tedious process. This provides a little bit more insight. But Bree, there are some numbers. Let me.
Yes, that I will have
I just got the
signs
look
on my computer.
Right, she's like, "You gonna ask me for that right here?"
I think Hannah sent something.
She did. So there are some numbers. Keep trying those numbers. Obviously, this is kind of seeming like
here it is.
The situation we had where the governor had kept on telling people go apply for the food stamps, and then there weren't enough lines because we didn't anticipate the need. So we are seeing in the comments that some people are putting that they're not answering or it's busy. So what are those numbers, Bree?
All right, so you can call 311, or you can call 735-0527. That's 735-0527 through 32. So that's 0527, 0528, 0529, 0530, 31, or 32. Regarding, that's the number. I was going to say, is there an email? But yeah, you can send email inquiries to webadmin, WEBADMIN, at dol.guam.gov. Also, PUA,
they couldn't come up with like a simple help
hotline.
Help at DOL. Help me at dol.guam.
PUA.hotline at dol.guam.gov. And we got the video, so let's roll that, and this video will take you through the process on how you can apply for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program.
Ha'afare. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive PUA benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least 3 different employers about job openings. Be sure to upload a valid government-issued ID and supporting documents to strengthen your claim. Congratulations! You have completed the PUA claim filing process. It's time to file your weekly claim. Click on the File Your Weekly Claim button to proceed. Read through the explanation of the weekly certification process and advisories before proceeding. Notice that the weekly certification process begins the week in which you claimed as your last day of work. Answer each page honestly and input additional information as required. However, if you have since returned to work, be sure that on the weekly claim of the day you returned, you adjust your weekly earnings accordingly. Congratulations! You have filed your weekly claim. Make sure you file for all previous weeks you were affected to present. Now continue to file every week thereafter to receive unemployment benefits for those weeks. For more information on how the Guam Department of Labor can assist you, visit our website at dol.guam.gov.
All right, well, there you go. By request.
Yep. Phone number.
Yeah.
Just make sure everybody has it. 735-0527 through 32.
All right, 9:53. Again, Containing COVID is proudly brought to you by Cabos Insurance, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. And there's just so many ways to catch the show. Of course, right here on the radio at KUAM-FM, Gotney Guam, I-94. Thank you so much to Andy Wheeler, Vic and Ty, and DJ Oz of our I-94 family for allowing us to move in here during the COVID and do this little multimedia. Yeah, it's been a fun. I was thinking last night how many different eras we've had in the couple months. How long has it been? Have we been on, Bree? March,
Since
April, May.
After the first few positive cases were announced.
I think it was March 18th.
Sunday, Monday. We went on the air that Tuesday.
So cases were announced Sunday, and then I want to say that's like March 18th, April 18th. Wow, so we're coming up on 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, but we really wanted to be here with you guys from the very beginning all the way to now, and I was thinking again last night, there was just so many different phases from when I think everybody hit rock bottom and there was no aid in sight, and people were just hurting and struggling, and we busted out those magic wands. Put a spell on the postal system and the feds to make that money come faster, and I'm definitely not saying that people are all A-okay right now, because there's still a lot of struggle and strife out there on the island. But obviously, I was thinking, for the most part, I want to say that we're in a better place, right? And I mean, if we're not, let me know, because people are still eagerly, that's not even the right word, waiting for the financial assistance from the...
Sorry, go ahead.
Did I have a tag on there the whole morning? Wow, thanks. Guess he got my back 4 hours later. Yeah, so I was just thinking about, there's just been so many different phases, and
it's been an emotional roller coaster.
I've cried twice.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a crier, but
Yeah,
so
you
it's
are.
been so wonderful. Yeah, I am. I'm a big crybaby. But it's been, to share it with you guys and to be here with you guys, it's really meant so much to us. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank not just the viewers and listeners on Facebook Live, but all around the radio.
Yeah.
And Bree, this has been great to work with you.
Yeah, it's been great working with you too. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to work together.
We always work together. I know. I'm not
this close.
Yeah.
And for so long.
No, but the news experience that you bring to the show, I think it kind of it just brings a lot of legitimacy to the program, and I just want to thank you for that, Bree, because I could just go on here and blab for 4 hours, but you really bring the realness and the information, and you carry the full weight of the KUAM news team wherever you go.
This is just his way of telling me, Bree, can you treat me for lunch? Okay?
Really? And I kind of know what I want for lunch already. Is we're going to end on a good note here and bring on Chef Peter Duenas of Mezcla for our good note. Good morning, Chef.
Morning. How's the day?
How you been?
Good. Thankfully.
I know. We've made it this far.
Yeah, we have, and that's kind of where I was going with that. Is I feel like we have weathered. It's still storming, but I feel for the most part, in the typhoon, this would be where you kind of peek your head out the door, and you never know if the eye's on the other side, but it is what it is. And so you've weathered the COVID pretty well, and I know that you're very fortunate with the restaurants and all that. But what I really wanted to bring you on here to do, Chef, was to kind of highlight the good work that you guys have done in feeding Catholic social services. Now, let's just go to the beginning and talk about how this idea started as an idea and how it blossomed into action.
Well, we started off by making some donations to the frontliners over at GMH, and just to try to help out with this whole pandemic situation. And then one day, Lenny Farron with Kuddu called me up and said, hey, we're doing this Kuddu Caregivers project, and we're wondering if you're interested in participating, and explained the whole concept to me, and feeding families in need, and especially in this dire moments, right? So I said, man, that's such a great idea. And they had some charitable establishments that gave products, starting from the proteins to the produce. There were various companies that have donated. From what I know, and forgive me if I forget about anybody, but I know that companies like PDC, Payless, IDI, Quality, and Lenny would probably be able to tell you all the different sponsors, but there's so many donors for this project that it was so nice for them to give. And all we had to do was get the food. Lenny was orchestrated mostly everything. He's the guy who receives the food and gets people to go out there. And he was cooking almost every day for a little bit. And thankfully, some other people came in and partnered up to try to help with the cause. And we were fortunate to do it, and we actually enjoyed cooking, and we took the products and we turned it into meals for hundreds of different people.
I'm getting hungry looking at this short rib video. Is that short rib?
Yeah, I mean, we cooked several things actually, but it was great. Our staff was happy to do it, and knowing that it was going to such a great cause and feeding families in need, and trying to showcase our expertise as well in the food and beverage industry. So that's pretty much it. And they had other partners like Grab and Grub and people from Catholic Social Services who came and picked up the foods when the containers were done. They would come down and pick up the meals and make their deliveries. But yeah, it was definitely very satisfying in terms of making a difference in our communities here.
Is that
Guam.
Code and Pica?
No, actually I did. One day I did what we call pork achoti. And it's like stafao, but we put a choti in it to give it some
That's
color.
what that is, right on with the white rice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of like the pork version of the steak.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of a childhood favorite of mine. So one of the products we got was chopped up pork bone in, and that was like the perfect product to do the pork achoti. So that was nice.
What was the other dish with the red rice?
We did.
Can you say it slow, Chef?
Sure. We did a soy glazed flank steak, barbecue flank steak, and we served it with red rice and coleslaw and barbecue beans.
This is his kind of sexy talk. He really likes this.
I'm just staring off right now. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Flank steak, marinated, yeah, barbecued. Oh, yeah, red rice.
Getting close to lunch.
I'm almost there.
What's so beautiful about this is, before you came on, we were talking about how we've kind of been on this roller coaster and how we started this show. And I remember, Pico was one of the first people that we had on the show about the Kadu Cares program. And it's just grown into this one beautiful thing. And so it's so nice to hear how restaurants like yours have come together to help and give back to the community.
Right.
Well, we just played a small role in helping out, and there's other restaurants that are helping out currently. And Lenny and his guys, man, they've been busting their butts every day, pretty much scrambling, whether it's gathering the donations and cooking, and I mean they were cooking most of the days, and they're still cooking most of the days now.
Right. And Chef, this is what I meant when I tried to get you on. I mean, I really had to really try, because I know you're humble and you don't want to be out here like, hey, look at me, look what I did. But that's why we wanted to bring you on and recognize you as a COVID hero, Chef. You and the restaurant, your family restaurant there. Chef.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And, I think all of us share in the idea of, like, Guam is great, and let's, like any other tragic moment here in Guam, typhoons and stuff, the very next day we put the pieces back together, and then we take care of each other. And that's, no matter what we encounter, that's the way it's going to be here in Guam. That's our culture, that's who we are.
Chef, do you want to throw anything out? Are you guys open for dine-in, or anything you want to add in here before you go?
Yes, thank you for that. Actually, all of our restaurants are open for dine-in, of course, at 50% occupancy. And hopefully that changes soon, but we have been very stringent with our staff and our different various protocols and sanitizing before, during, and after, and taking all the precautionary measures. To include our Ghana restaurant, we actually built dividers for our tables, so we I think we might change our restaurant name to the Fish Tank because we got a lot of plexiglass dividers.
I feel like I'm in prison in the movies, you know, and they're like looking at each other. Like, how's your Tanatla? It's good. All right. Can you pass the Denancy? Well, Chef, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Right on. I told Bree that, I mean, she doesn't want me to say it, but if, you know, anything from Mezcla Dos accidentally finds its way to KUAM, we won't get mad. I just want to clear it.
Hey, we'll do that.
Okay,
brother.
right on. Thank you, Chef. Wash your hands.
Take care. Tell Monica I said hi.
Okay.
We'll do.
Right on.
Okay. Bye.
Adios.
Man, taking me back, I hosted a big event for the Micronesian Chefs Association before the COVID. And, you know, Monica and Pete were kind of the ones who brought me on to host it. I had a great time, as always. And it just really, I don't know, I was in my feels last night. Like every night. I was just thinking about all these things I was doing before the COVID and how it just seems like so long ago. And then come to think of it, oh, it wasn't that long ago. It was like the beginning of March.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, again, thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to Chef Peter for helping us end the show on a good note. And thank you guys for making it 4 hours of good notes with all your support. Good job today, Sabrina.
Good job, Christopher. Good job, Joser and Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob Sablon has now got his digital badge. Good job. Hey, guys. It's 10:05. We're KUAM FM and Agotnya, Guam. Sabrina?
Yes, Tyler and Vic are up next. And then don't forget to catch Andy Wheeler coming on at 2. And, of course, prime time at 6 o'clock.
All right, it's 10:06. Again, leaving you with this great track. Guam is a beautiful place. Bonito na lugar. Mariana's homegrown. My name is Chris. Hasta. Adios.
Bye.